process which is not good. And all of this can be resolved by doing some functional movement as simple as the 7 foundational movement on a daily basis.
So we are making a unique protocol where we have a trade secret in that, and we are making a unique point here with the evaluations of the patient's values.
So I have done a protocol of 61 diseases where we made a software which can generate a protocol once the disease is diagnosed.
And so what we basically do for period pain, if we have period pain that is use methotrexate at least 3 to 4 per every month. And one of the main problems with this is that we have a lot of side effects, right? And we also don't know how the treatment is progressing. So what through our HealthSol Biomed we have developed a device is a period pain stimulation and relieving device. It helps in monitoring period pain and also relieving period pain. And it also helps for PCOD, PCOS and fertility tracking for people who are trying to have children.
We had our first MedTech innovation event today. We had about 12 of our startups and about 30 doctors from large hospitals here. The intent was to provide two-way exposure for the startups to be able to talk about what they were doing, what problems are they solving, and to get some feedback and potentially opportunities for them to work with these hospitals. In some cases, some of the doctors can work as mentors and so on. So I think it was overall a good experience. First of its kind, and obviously we'll do better as time goes on.
This is one of the initiatives where we wanted to build a healthcare ecosystem in this region by bringing the customers and also the healthcare innovators together, and we wanted to do it on a continuous basis every year. So we have been in this healthcare domain for the last 3 years. So this is our third cohort of a healthcare program with around 15 startups. So far we have nurtured around 50 healthcare startups who have grown to different levels. They have been served at different stages. So we look forward to building a very strong healthcare ecosystem so that we can strengthen the infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure needs of this country. So the hospitals were, for them it is like a, eye opener. They now understand like what kind of innovations the startups are coming up with, and how far they can utilize these innovations to further, enrich their service to the, patient or healthcare community. So they are ready to share their support. Some of them have extended their interest to mentor them, and a few of them are also, interested in trying out these products, as part of their hospital networks. And this is a good opportunity for these young startups to get a customer pilot and then reiterate their product and move ahead, as part of the startup life cycle is concerned.
Entrepreneurship has been like a very, very interesting thing for me to earn for yourself, to have your own space, to express your thoughts and express your ideas of what you want to deliver. The happiness I would see on my customer was what made me start this whole thing. It was initially very, very difficult. First fear that comes in the family's mind is that they think that the world is a pervert. You have to convince them again and again, saying that what you are doing is correct. Definitely will not support you with so much of money. So that was the second challenge, was which one I faced when doing business. But when I started this eco-friendly business, I realized that when there's a banking transactions, there is some money in the bank. And with that money, I was able to raise some funds after some time. And secondly is every money that I earned, I put it in the business. My strength was communication and liaising with companies. And I earned a lot of money doing that. Initial 2 years where I liaised for 2-3 companies, and I earned some good commission in that, which added like a capital to me. So I built my capital, and then of course I have my husband who paid for everything. I sold some jewelry also of mine when I needed, but I'm happy I did that time. I have taken all the schemes available from the government. I came to know about the CGTMSC scheme. It is credit guarantee scheme from the government. Of course, the process was a little long because a lot of due diligence was done by the bank. But I did get that, and since then I'm having that, and with that I built my reputation, and then banks came up with whatever they had to. So it's not difficult to get bank loans if you are able to do the right thing at the right time. With the kind of startup culture and the fund available, it's still not that easy to get. It's just that it is available, and the same procedures have to be followed. Becoming a public limited company was a really raise in our value, not just on the value in the money side, but what I have seen that it raised the value of the company's commitment, responsibility, as well as its virtue of saying that we are there and we are committed to the cause. And whichever company was associating, they also felt that they are serious guys and they're not here for just for a few years. So that's what I feel today, that going to IPO was a very, very good idea. The journey has been very, very beautiful. Lot of things I learned in the way that how really Indians are, and I feel very proud that I could make a company or a corporate organization where we have given almost 900 people employment. And if we would not have come to this level, I don't think so we would be able to support so many families.
She started as a career where she was jewelry designer and she used to work with some of these jewelry shops and manufacturers in Surat. And that's where she faced the real problem of sanitation when there was no toilets and she was struggling herself. And that went to have a personal problem in terms of kidney stone for her because she was not using the loo for a very extended period of time and not drinking water and stuff like that. So that is her personal experience which made her to do something on the sanitation side for women and then also directly impacting positively to the environment. Then we as a team sat together and said, "Kaise, how we should really do this?" And that's how we come and we thought we put a strategy in place and we are where we are today.
So we wanted to increase our portfolio of offerings and solutions that we were offering. The first reason is that sanitation and water is a very, very focused kind of a business where sanitation is left for the government themselves. Then later on we realized that we have addressed to the sanitation and water together. And that's how we started looking out for water treatments in urban areas. Earlier we were focused completely on rural and peri-urban. Now we want to focus on urban. So now how do we build our capacities? So when we acquired this company was acquired to help us build that capacity, increase our product range in the same solution, offer more solutions to our customers, and not like become like a one-stop solution for water and sanitation situations. In 2015-16, I was like running this whole thing alone, and suddenly the company was growing at the speed of 70, 80, 100% every year, and I just could not manage the whole thing. And so Sanjay came for a rescue for me, and he said, "Okay, I will join it." He quit his corporate job, and he helped take up my finance and everything, and he became the managing director. Later on, with my brother, he is a mechanical engineer and an MBA from ISP, was wanting to do something in this field because he also was connected to me directly or indirectly for a very long time. And he said that it's time for him also to do something worthwhile. And that's why he decided to quit his job, and he came here and became the CEO of the company.
Imagine there is no water when you get up in the morning. It's like you cannot even dream to live in that world, right? And we are providing that service or that comfort to our clients, our directly or indirectly. I think that is the big satisfaction that makes us go over. Today, the sanitation where we are focusing is more on the urban sanitation, where post your consumption of water, whatever is the treatment that we are talking, the waste and wastewater treatment more on the liquid side. Today, there are hundreds of companies operating in a very super fragmented market. We want to change all of that. We want to bring some method to the madness that is happening. People are like the builders, they are all thinking, let's save some money. We are saying you may save some money, but you're bringing back into your own brand over a period of time, if your wastewater treatment systems are not working and you're delivering to the buyer who's spending 4 crore, 5 crore for a project or an apartment, right? So we want to change all of that. So we want to make that impact to say, guys, we will do this for you. We want to show to the world that this is money making business, and if you do it well, it can really alter the way we think about sanitation, environment, all of that. But what we are trying to do is how we can really solve the real core issue of wastewater treatment, how we can use that water for purposes that we are not using today, and we can give it back to the society. Today, just to give you an example, if you are talking about in a big society, there is 100% water usage, 60% or 50% can be reused, and 50% is now actually thrown in the drain. Now imagine, there are so many societies across all these big metro cities and all. We want to use that water and use it 100% recyclable to the society. So imagine the impact that we are talking. One society would generate, let's say, 2,000 apartment will generate more than 1 million liter wastewater every day. We want to circulate that, and we want to do that for 500 societies. So imagine we are talking of 500 to 1 billion liter of water recycled every day on our platform. And then extend that opportunity to do this work for water. We can give water for gardening. We can give water for city usage. There are so many opportunities.
Acclimatizing people or having them understand, you can use the term awareness here, that there has to be beyond the obvious. So environmental, social, governance, etc. When we talk about the company ESG, those things matter, and it's not very easy for people to understand things at first hand.
All our solutions are environmentally friendly. They have resource recovery element.
We treat the water, wastewater, etc. It's not easy for people to take it first hand. It takes a lot of effort on our part to have them understand this thing and then probably adapt to something.
So the product is a normal WC which has a flapper based system, and it controls the flow of water. When you flush it with the foot, and it is operated by the foot, so foot lever it has. So when you press through the foot, the flapper opens and lets out the water. So this generally happens that most of the time we are only using it for toilet, and when you're urinating and all, it is like you don't need to flush the whole flush tank of 15 liters. So this helps in reducing the consumption of water from almost 15 liters or 9 liters of normal tank to 1 to 1.5 liter only. So that, and it is a normal way to maintain it. There is no special maintenance required for the normal cleaning has to be done. That's it. And it is a life of almost 35 years. It's a complete WC in itself. So if you want to exchange in your house, it's just an hour's job for us. You just take out your old WC and fit it. It is so simple.
We are serving the society while doing business. So social, environmental and economic, all the three framework, what people call triple P or people, planet, profit. So we are a very good example of that.
We now are in a position to go international. So the way we have served the Indian society, would like to serve the other countries, including Africa, where the need is very high. And I guess we are prepared for that.
I did my MBA in Germany. It gave me an international perspective, looking at things, family business, then let's say MNCs, for all the different perspectives. Today, I am in a much better position to contribute to the company, to the community, to the society at large.
I have mostly been responsible for, I would say, proliferation of the company within the country and outside, representing the company, the work that the company did. I write a lot, speak, including at the United Nations. The thing is, what company has been doing, accomplishing, by all the team members, I, take it to the world through my written and oral skills.
We lost our parents very early in our life, so we are very bonded as friends actually. Although we are siblings, but we are more friends. So I was like more of a think tank for her. and she would just call me and say, Vishal, I want to do this. Can you give me your idea? So other than think tank, I was also like sort of a financial support and always like as a brother sister, I want this much money, and so she will always come back to me. So I've been the stable one, and she's like the dreamer. So that's how we work together. And I'm really proud to see the way she has grown from where she started to where we are. We fight, we argue, but I think the underlying bond between two of us is very, very strong, and I think that's what driving both of us. One thing I really like about her is she just loves people, right? If somebody is suffering, she would really care for them. I think that is one of the very hardest quality for an entrepreneur, because being a small company, we have been able to bring in very interesting policies for my employees, which is normally unheard in a company of our size. She is headstrong. I think that reflects, okay, she want to do this, so it has to be done. Her commitment, I think, is the big another aspect she as a trait she has, and that's what clearly reflects in the business. She is not afraid of asking help. I think that directly reflects. So the ego is not there, right? People who get associated with us, they don't leave us. The reason is very simple, because we take care of it.
We are an award-winning company. We are working in health tech. We have this device. It is a made-in-India device. This is called handheld spirometer. This device is connected through via Bluetooth to our app. Our company is established in 2018. We actually work very deeply in understanding the respiratory issues, the health issues around the chest and around the lungs. We are already been working very closely with the government of India. Our device is CDSO approved, and we are into the market for upscaling ourselves. We are associated with CCMB for last 1 year. We are using our device particularly for understanding the COPD issues in masses, and we are very happy to be here to showcase our product, to understand what we can help government and what we can help the private sector to understand the lung problems. So we are the product is market ready. We are already working in market. We are working through hospitals in Maharashtra region mostly. Due to COVID, our market readiness got little delayed, but it's okay. It was a part of up and down of a startup, I can say. We are already here to give an idea to government how the mortality rate can be reduced by doing a pre-testing of people or masses for the lung functionality. The funding part, I can say, we have been fortunate enough because of Dr. Ramji's help. We have been given a few grants from the government of India, also government of Telangana, like Nidhi for COVID. And we look forward for a B2B kind of a sector through government and through other private players who can make a policy where we do a mass screening of people for COPD and asthma. Like in children also, there is a lot of asthma segment which is unidentified or unspoken about. So we really look forward for more connects and more understanding in the market and in the government to make this screening is one of the most vital parameters in the most diagnostic sector. Yeah, so what we call it as a project SAVE. We have done this kind of a project in COVID in Mumbai Municipal Corporation as well. Now we are doing it under the central government, under Honorable Minister Dr. Bharti Pawar. Under her constituency in Nasik, we are going ahead with this project where we do mass screening of the people. In the mass screening, we get to know how the health is of the patient or the person who has been. And further to that, we take that person or the patient ahead for the treatment or the further diagnosis. So this device basically, sir, can do 3 type of testing. It can do a screening, it can do a mini spirometry, and it can do a total PFT, that is a total functions test of the patient. This is very useful for the TB recovered patients also. So as India leads for India minus TB or India without TB, this device can help TB patients to understand how they have come out of TB, how their lungs are working after TB. And yes, COPD is a silent killer which nobody talks about. So we actually work very closely for COPD and asthma reduction. Right. So AIC CCMB came to us through Dr. Ramji, of course. Me and the company, myself and Dr. Ramji are working closely in some other, organizations' work. And we got this opportunity to be associated with CCMB. And I can definitely tell you one of the coolest place, even if it is the technology place, because the whole atmosphere in CCMB is so cohesive for the startup. We feel, we won't feel any pressure for asking any help, and I always believe that any startup should keep asking for help, because nothing is person made or self made. You need an organization like CCMB who gives you a helping hand, where we can put up our idea into the market. We can get a support, not only a technical support but otherwise also a networking platform. So we are really very fortunate to be associated with CCMB for last more than 1 year now. Thank you so much.
We are a core data science company, and our expertise is building knowledge integration platforms using semantic intelligence technologies. At AIC CCMB, we are building a genomics platform to basically detect, diagnose, and research rare genetic disorders in humans. Yeah, so we have just about completed our MVP, and we have launched our alpha. Oops. Okay. Yeah, sure. We've just launched our alpha version of the platform. It's currently undergoing testing at CCMB and CDFD. Yeah, so we've been able to raise quite an amount of funding in the last 1 year, thanks to the support that we have received from CCMB. We will take roughly about 3 to 6 months to hit the market. And we've received a lot of support from AIC CCMB in terms of setting up the data contract. As you understand, our platform requires a lot of data to be able to test it across a wide range of diseases. And we've received support not only on the data front, but also from domain front. We have a lot of CCMB scientists and clinical geneticists who are actually testing our platform. Yes, in fact, our initial framework that we developed, we presented in the prestigious data science conference in India, and our entry was won the best demo award at that particular platform. Yeah. We have raised close to 1.5 crores from multiple areas. The mighty DST grant, and then there was a angel fund also that we raised. We also raised the NSTEDB grant. We are looking for another round of close to 1 or 2 crores to go further until we hit the commercial stage. Yeah. Thank you so much.
AIC CCMB organized startup social event at Hyderabad. Prominent leaders from biotechnology sector addressed the gathering. Listen in.
Welcoming the online guests of us today. I am Ramji. I work as a Chief Operating Officer at AIC CCMB. I think most of you may be knowing AIC CCMB is kind of sector-specific incubator, especially into life science and healthcare. 5-year-old journey that we have seen here with by inducting actually 85 plus startups here, startups and innovators. And some of the startups could able to go global, and some have seen their products commercialized, and we have some stories here. So I formally welcome you all, because you are eagerly waiting to hear what other experts today they'll be discussing about how to actually productize. So LVPI and of course our colleagues will be talking, but before I invite them, quickly to say, once you actually hear this panel discussion and to see what's happening out here, maybe you can see our facilities. Of course, we ran out of space. That is one thing I can say. But yes, virtual space is always welcome here. So we work together, LV Prasad and many other incubators and other institutions. So please come and actually engage with us constantly. And whenever you have something, you need something, please ask us. We have different programs and also seed fund, especially for healthcare medtech. So close to $1.5 million fund dedicated for seed fund. And other than that, we have different programs like SPOSH fellowship program, TIDE program. I'm not going to mention because I don't want to show any slides now. But yeah, thank you so much for joining here physically, and of course our online friends there. Now I request LUPI team so that please come and give welcome address from your what you can say. Many of the people might have not visited there, so you have to actually tease them. That's what I can say, because I have seen there. So please, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ramji, for this opportunity to work together on this startup social. Welcome to Kumars, Mr. Shirish Kumar and Shiv Kumar. And also welcome to Dr. Pankaj, Mr. Pankaj Thakur. Thank you so much for being here today. So I just don't want to take too much time. LV Prasad is not-for-profit organization taking care of multiple levels of patients from bottom-up or top-down model, where at the top at Hyderabad we have a center of excellence, and at the bottom we have what we call Village Vision Complex. So totally we are at 264 locations in 3+1 state in India. That's what we do, from precision care to primary care. This is what we generally cater to. And in Hyderabad, it's a city with a lot of technology, I must say. And we are also into medtech in terms of innovation, because our Innovation Center for Technology Innovation Center is close to 10-year-old now. And in the last few years, we also have our own incubation center, basically catering to medtech products. So that's what is being done. And we have few of the products, and we have some of the incubators now with us. And Hyderabad is a good ecosystem for all of this, from prototyping to productization to marketing and validation, because anything related to ophthalmology or any healthcare, we can validate across our network from top to down, be it secondary level, be it primary level, be it at the center of excellence. So that's the advantage what we have. And we are very, very happy to collaborate with the Atal Incubation Center here. This is also one of our partners, because that's where we coexist, because each of us have some more strength, and we work on that so that it helps the larger group of people. And I want to welcome all of you for this, and I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you very much for having us today here. Thank you.
I think let's have a quick discussion with the panel members. Today we have Mr. Pankaj Thakur from Paddock Ventures and Shishir from Huel and Sif Bio, and of course other companies maybe. So, and also Incubate, unfortunately Shiva is not joining, but Surya Rao from Altheon
He's also one of our successful startups who actually developed water technology, ultra pure technologies. He'll be joining. So before he come, I think Pankaj would like to present or talk about 5 minutes or so that each speaker can speak about 5 minutes. Then we can actually go for a quick discussion.
So you put me on the spot, but that's okay. So what would you like to hear? Let me understand. I mean, I can tell my story, which is 37-year-old. You'll get bored. So what do you want to hear about? Give me something that you really care about in startup world. What is it? I know everybody who comes into our office is looking for funding, and I don't want to talk about that because that's the most difficult subject to explain. And though we've got about 100 startups funded in the last 4.5 years, but I don't want to boast about that because that's what we do for a living anyway. But that's a process. So anybody else wants to know anything other than the funding? Yes.
Few companies in healthcare and
So I'll talk about our latest that we are going to do now. We've been asking corporate world and these are really the people with the money and non-CSR funding to come in and open and help the various verticals, including healthcare. And we've been talking to about 30 odd corporates, really pushing them to contribute not only by this, not only their money, but their entire value chain into the system so that startups can actually take advantage of that, leverage it and grow. And one such came across, and fortunately it's in healthcare, GSK. So GSK and us are now trying to help healthcare startups, and we kept it very broad because if you narrow down, see, drug discovery, GSK will never be able to actually do that because it's a global mandate. But GSK India is a listed company, has some power to itself. So they said, okay, we want to do these 5 things. The first thing they came up with, how can we actually leverage data? We don't have data. And seriously, they don't have data. They're completely opaque to the entire system. What doctor is writing to what patient, they have no clue. And from there, what it comes to chemist and what chemist gives, they have no clue. They only have clue is what they ship to their distributor and distributor gives it to retailer. And how much of that gets sold is a matter of reconciliation of inventory. But the important part, and we all understand, in tomorrow's world, data is what's going to drive any company's growth, and healthcare is no exception. So if any one of you have any healthcare data related startup, there is 4 things available to you. One, of course, a very structured approach, handheld holding you for next 2 years to grow, first sustain, grow, and then scale. In the first phase of 6 months, you will get 3 crores worth of funding if you qualify. And it'll be at a fair market value. Nobody is asking. There will be external investors who will validate you, and GSK is going to get a co-invest in that. That's the first thing. Second thing, you will get access to entire GSK's network if you're looking for a distribution or if you're looking to access doctors, patients. As he said, they can validate anything in ophthalmology. GSK also had certain, about 30 odd, 40 odd SKUs. They can actually help you validate those ideas in today's. They have access to doctors, hospitals, and to everybody else. So that's another thing. Third thing they bring to the table is the domain knowledge. The pharma industry or healthcare industry is now really, health pharma cannot say that I am a separate than healthcare or, generic or even cosmetics for that matter. They have a lot of cosmetics products which they want to plan to launch and they don't know how to do it, primarily because they are a pharma company. They have a consumer product company which sells your, toothpaste and all that, but that's different. So that's the third thing you get all the domain knowledge. Their entire team is ready to help you, handhold you and take you. Fourth thing is they bring us PadUp in. What does PadUp do? We have created programs which will help startups go through a process of creating a creating a customized business plan where investors can write check. That's what I said. 100 companies have actually raised money. One of the companies actually is from here, Semantic Web. You'll be surprised that we took Semantic Web through the program and they were not really interested in raising money. They got a big grant. They were very happy. So I told Dr. Asha that, look, there is a chance because our program culminates on a demo day. And there was a lot of investor interest and this team of husband and wife was not ready to take money. It took me 3 months to convince her to take money. And the day she said, okay, I'll take money, I think I need about 1 crore. And we put it on our angel group. We have an angel group of friends of PadUp. Within 1 hour, she got 1 crore. We opened at 5 in the evening. We closed at 6 in the evening. She would have actually got 3-4 crores that day. And the money is lying in a bank. She's not spending it for some reason. She's supposed to be here today or maybe meet me tomorrow in Bangalore. And, the idea is funding is actually a output of what you do. Funding is not input for what you do. People who chase money will waste time, effort. So I have been 3 times over entrepreneur. 25 years I have been doing this for a living. First time was not really a classical entrepreneur, but I used to work for HCL, came out of HCL, and all I knew was how to push boxes, right? So you're selling computers 500 rupees less, 1,000 rupees less, and we used to do box pushing. And after 5 years, I got bored and I picked up my bag and went to US and created a startup there. When I created a startup there, raised a lot of money, but because of 9/11, it just went down and under. I buried it ceremoniously and came back. Right? And that time I realized that I chased, before I saw my first term sheet, I had already knocked 50 doors in US. I used to go every day. I used to drive on the wrong side of the road, as per me, that was wrong side, and end up in Palo Alto or, Sand Hill and things like that. And, it was very difficult I called router a router. I didn't understand what schedule means because we had schedule. I didn't understand what month on month mean. Month on month, what is he saying? I don't know. How does month on month, we say month after month. Anyway, I struggled through that and I realized it's not that the way. I got a mentor to myself. This mentor was a junior from my college, but had gone and worked, later on came to MIT Manipal and then worked there and had made it big. $400 million he had made. So he said, okay, I'll give you $1 million, but you have to listen to me. I said, tu mera junior hai, kaisi baat kar raha hai? He said, but you don't know anything about this place. Next 6 months, he gave me $1 million. We worked upon everything, hired people. And in next 6 months, we raised about, first round was $8 million. Next round, after that, about a year later, about another $7 million, $15 million we raised. And this gentleman handheld me through all this process. Unfortunately, the company did not do well and I came back. And then I did another startup called Cellcast in India, ran for 10 years. My last yearly revenue was about 200 crores. And I sold that company in 2013. And since then, I'm trying to figure out how do I help startups to take my gyan and become successful. So I have gone with my baggage, institute by institute, 250 odd institutes I've covered, including IIT, IIMs, whosoever called me, I went there, you pay my ticket, I'll come. And the learning from there is that there are no takers of entrepreneurs in this country, primarily because the ROI doesn't work out. Today, even in the smallest of the smallest college, the engineering cost 4 year is about 16 lakhs. Now, out of 16 lakhs, somebody, lower middle class person paying for their children, the child should not be doing entrepreneurship. And I support that. But what I'm trying to say here is that entrepreneurship does not come when you come out of the college. It comes when you work for 10 years and then start doing something. And when you start doing something, if you start chasing money, it'll never come. You'll have to chase the business. And best way to chase the business is hire a mentor. Get a mentor on board, and he'll help you open doors. He'll help you create an ecosystem. He'll help you create strategic partners. And sometimes he'll even put up his money. So we have about 80 mentors, and each one of them actually doubles up as an investor. And the reason for that is because mentorship till now has been very ad hoc and informal. Mentors' skin in the game is not there. And when a skin in the game is, he should write a check, even if it is for 2 lakhs, to your company for a fair market value, and then help you go that distance, which is about 3 years. 95% of the companies fail within 3 to 5 years of their existence. 95%. And the only reason they fail is they don't have mentors. Only reason. Everybody has an idea, products, blah, blah, blah. What they don't have is business. And because they don't have business, they can't get funding. And because they can't get funding, they go down and under. So get a mentor. And for a startup, I say get a life. That's it. Any questions? We'll talk about it later. Yeah, Pradeep.
I think, I'm sorry, please, just a quick question. Sometimes it's also critical to know how to choose a mentor. So what would your criteria be to choose a mentor?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, to choose a mentor, first of all, don't think he's a consultant. They're not going to work you. They're not going to work for you, and don't expect him or her to babysit you. A mentor is a person who has the domain and business knowledge both. It cannot be only domain. And I sit on IIT Delhi's review board and I see it every day where the professors are mentors and the startups struggle primarily because there is no business sense that actually prevails over them. So yeah, and second thing, there has to be a formal arrangement where there has to be maybe a small equity given to the mentor. And if mentor can invest, that's like icing on the cake.
I think still the answer is how to choose a mentor. That's the question.
So there are two things. I mean, somebody told me this long. First, look for the chemistry. If chemistry works out, math will automatically work out.
I now request Shishir to please introduce yourself.
To give you a brief, I started one company called RAS Life Sciences in 2008 along with my wife. She is a PhD from CCMB as well. And then exited it in 2017. We sold to Biomerio, a French company, and then started 2 more companies. One named Huel Life Sciences, which is human welfare. So no connection to China. Please don't think Huel is something which is related to human welfare. And then subsequently another company called Sirf Bio, which Hindi wala, Sirf, so Sirf Bio. So we make equipment over there for biology. Other one, we make equipment, reagents. So we make end-to-end in diagnostics. We make enzymes, we make plastics, we make primers and probe, we make all for diagnostics, especially RT-PCR related stuff. Along with right now, we are also making rapid lateral flow assays. So fortunately or unfortunately, COVID struck. So we did good. So we were the largest sellers in the country. We sold around 4.35 crores of tests with completely indigenization, and we did decent. We did more than 100 crores. So we did fairly well. Last 3 years, we are doing fine. We have built a big facility, which is at Sultanpur Medical Devices Park. And currently, we have around 72 employees, which include PhDs, masters. So many, I think fortunately, once you have little bit money, you can attract good talent as well. So that's the unfortunate thing of startups, because many times when you feel that you need good people, you need money for that. And you need money and you need actually acceptance. Mental attitude of startup guys is always, why I need to pay that much? Because you don't have that vision to see whether they would be really useful or whether I can make a product out of it or whether they can be of helpful or not. So that's one big challenge. But once you have certain money in company, so you get that confidence levels, which are definitely are worth enough to hire good people. So it's currently doing well. We are exporting. we started exports right now, and we exported to UAE, we exported to Sri Lanka, right now Philippines, and we are also getting product registered in Brazil. So that's a short success story, which lasts 3.5 years story. And currently, another good part is we got through Technology Development Board award, and we also raised fund from SIDBI. So there are private investors who are looking at investing, but currently we raised from SIDBI and TDV. So that's in story. Thank you.
And I request Ratnam sir, please say about the facilities, and many are excited to actually use the facilities. So please.
Thanks, Ramji. Thanks, everyone. So I come from Eli Prasad Eye Institute. So basically, I'm a biomedical engineer, and we have started the Center for Technology Innovation about a decade ago, inaugurated by none other than Bharat Ratna, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And since then, our journey was quite upward, and we created, its journey started with basically getting the import replacements 10 years ago. Yeah. And then we slowly developed our own concepts. Why not we do this? Why not we do this? And then we made something. In the early times, we tell the concepts to some of the MNCs, some, Swedish companies or, some European, US companies, and they would make it. They would bring in the change. They would bring in the model and say that, okay, this is, this particular scissor told by you, and we made it. And slowly we thought, like any other industry in India, slowly we also get our own confidence and making our own things. That's how we landed up making our own products, our own patents, and details like that. And just a couple of years ago, we got this opportunity, and we started this Bionest incubator. So this is the first hospital-based incubator in India. So many startups like funding is one big problem, of course. People is another big problem. But when it comes to healthcare, one of the biggest problem is clinical validation. Anywhere you take your product and so can you do the clinical validation, the first thing they say, who have the time? I mean, even some of the big organizations who have that kind of a resource, they create a department, including Eli Prasad Eye Institute, called Clinical Research Department, who can do the validation, but it comes with a heavy cost. And therefore, if I walk through and then ask some of my own consultant, can you do this validation? Again, they would say, Ratnam, you know me, I'm seeing 100 patients a day and blah, blah, blah. It's too difficult for them. But what happened is, some of the startup meetings also this question came up. They were saying that, look, my problem is, I made these IoT-based devices connecting all the ECGs and central display, whatever concept they come out. But my problem is I could not validate it. I said, this is the place. We have the hospital-based incubator, which is a beautiful marriage between the healthcare facility and the startup facility. So that's what Ramji was saying, that look, they have something which we don't have, is on prototyping, and other one is, the clinical validation. Of course, our skill set, what we have in-house ranges from mechanical engineer to industrial design engineers, electronic engineers, embedded engineers, and machine operators, and even clinicians, optometrists, ophthalmologists. So many people work together there. And that's a beautiful melting pot for different talents come together to help you. So the facilities what we got thanks to Bharat and also LVPI management, we have put up one of the most precision equipment to do the prototyping, which can go to the level of microns, because we look at ophthalmology. So some of the scleral lens, for example, we make even we have a production unit for them, which makes it to the level of sub-millimeter range, and even optical, any kind of material. It could be a PMMA, like a polymer, or it could be aluminum, it could be brass, any kind of things. We could facilitate all that. So that kind of prototyping facility is available. And of course, we have a partnership with AIC, CCMB, like many other partners. We can also link up and be a one-stop shop for doing many things, in all the way up to from idea to POC to prototype and even industrial design, form factor, all that, all the way up to clinical validation, which is the sort of acid test for any product. And once it passes, I guess, the idea is good, it should sell. I just want to share one small information from one of the angel investor. I'd never met her before, but she just bumped on me in one of the Bits Pilani campus or a similar social startup social. So she was mentioning that, Ratnam, I know LVPI. So I was wondering, you're from Delhi. How do you know about LVPI? So she was mentioning, no, 30% of our current investment goes into healthcare. I was asking, are you focusing on it? She said, no, we are not pulling it. It is being pushed and it is good. So by automatically my investment on the healthcare is increased. It is 30% is huge compared to agri-tech, fintech, edtech, and so many other things, what they're doing. And she mentioned that 2 of the recent startup funding based on LVPI clinical validation. I said, wow, I didn't know that. It has attracted that much of attention, and validation is so useful to get the funding. So, as he said, chase the business, of course, after validating clinically or while clinically validating it. Because the process of prototyping from T0, T1 and all that, you would fine-tune it towards the business, actual value adding to the customer or reducing the pain to the customer in some way. So we are open, we are available, and we could help you with all the way, especially in ophthalmology, clinical validation. We have some of the international standards for research is one of the founding pillars of L. Prasad Eye Institute, and clinical research is part of it. So we'll be able to help you, even if you think that, you don't know anything about clinical validation, we'll be able to help you right from the drawing board all the way up to the final stage. Thanks, Anji.
Incubator member Shiva is not here today because of some family emergency, and very fortunate to have Surya Rao here from Altion, one of the startups of us, and he moved to a bigger facility from here. Surya, please.
So hi everyone, Surya here. We have a facility like 100 meters from here, which is why Ramji called me when somebody didn't show up. No worries. So how many of you are trying to make medical equipment startups? Build medical equipment startups here? 1, 2, 3, 4. One was, okay, 4 of you. Excellent. So we started our journey in IICT, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. We wanted to make a medical RO plant based on certain innovative novel membranes, right? And we did that, and validation, we had to do validation. So that was a big challenge. So we were fortunate to speak to NephroPlus, who is India's largest chain of dialysis centers. And they gave us an opportunity to pilot in Maritpally, which is about 3-4 kilometers here. So they didn't use it in patients. They ran it for a couple of months. They tested it for another couple of months and then started using it. So that's how we started off. So once the orders from NephroPlus started coming in, we were able to go to other companies and say, this is something we've already proven and it's been working with patients. So that's how we started off. So prototyping, if you want to talk about prototyping, which is part of the focus today, right? So I'd say validation, very, very critical. No matter how you do it, either with mentors or if you have to convince somebody, you have to validate before you go too deep into any, because it's your time and money you're talking about. So it's better to fail fast and move on to the next better one rather than get stuck with a lame horse, if you will. So that's been my biggest takeaway. And once you go deeper into a particular thing that people know that you can make things that are necessary, you are in the position to make better things, diverge, and increase your revenues and so on. So the first project you pick is very critical. It'll either kill or drive your company forward. That would be my key takeaway. Spend a little bit more time, but get something right the first time. If not, you're dead eventually. Thank you.
So I welcome Dr. Madhusudan Rao, our CEO. Fortunate to join just now. I would like to hear a few words from you, Madhu.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I just missed the first 10 minutes of it. And welcome to each one of you for coming here. And then, of course, Shishir is our old friend. Surya, of course, went out of our place. And I met LV Prasad's the Bioness Center, which is fantastically equipped for a certain kind of medtech equipment. It's I think even Sadhguru is a kind of hand-holding the place. And I kind of take care of AIC here. And I'm sure most of you have seen the place. And if not, please make some time to see the place. And we are into idea to development stage, not at a product development. Once they become mature product, they leave us and then go on to go to a larger place. So this is what we are. And I'm sure I just leave it at that, but have a good discussion, and especially having, people with a lot of experience around, I think it'll be a great opportunity to get rid of some cobwebs. And welcome again for being here. Thank you.
Few of the questions that are really bugging me to ask these couple of entrepreneurs, and of course Ali Prasad, so money, of course we have money in India, right, Pankaj? So really lots of it. So that's why let's quickly discuss on the struggles that startups generally face. I'll go first with Shishir, because 15 years before, or almost close to 15 years, because when I was at IKP, the story of Biomure, initial 60%, then to final 100% to Biomure. So that time and to now, maybe at least more than a dozen of such diagnostic kits or any other devices through SIF Bio in partnership with Incubators or any other partners. How did you kind of crack those, productization? Because that is the first step. Most of the people, they know, okay, if I want to do this lateral flow device based technology, or maybe biosensing technology, any other technology in the science side, they're okay. But once you want to make something in hand, a kind of tangible thing, many of the startups are really struggling, where to go and, which can be the affordable one. So how did you crack that for your products, and what do you suggest to the innovators right now in the current generation?
Yeah, I think what Surya said, I agree with that. You have to validate your idea, and I think there's a toughest journey is to take some other's technology and work on it rather working yourself. Because I appreciate what Surya have done, because taking a technology from Indian institutes is a big challenge, especially take it IITs or CCMBs or any institutes, because they are not tuned to those sort of industrialization. So currently what we have done is we have been in diagnostic services first before entering into diagnostics, because we understood, we worked with various kits. We have diagnostic services, and we did fairly good diagnostic services across. So we understood what are the pitfalls and what are the loopholes, and we know, and that created a good repository of samples for us to test our own kits.
What are they? I mean, the loopholes.
Yeah, in the sense, currently most of, I don't believe too much innovation in country. Objective is to have more import substitution. Innovation is a big buzzword to get funding, and especially without that, having that innovation word, probably funders are not that keen, or not even BIRAC guys are keen or to get a big grant or any of this. So believe that first of all, you have to believe that your product is useful for masses. See, once you create a product which is usable, money is always there. So money always follows, but objective is, first is the selection of the product. You have to select such a product where regulations are not very high, which eat away most of your money, because many of the entrepreneurs start with bootstrapping. They sell their whatever they have, assets, or I think most of them, I think the same with Surya and myself. So we, I think we when we started, we sold our house, and we had very little knowledge of finance. I think the finance part is very, very missing in all of the entrepreneurs. Most, and I think even those are from big financial institutions also miss the financial part. So understand, and we don't make Excels. I knew Excel only after the finishing of acquisition of one company. So getting into finance, I bought first book in 2000, I think 10 or 11, Financials for Dummies, because I didn't know about authorized capital, didn't know about paid up capital and all that stuff, acquisitions and all this was not part. So that, see, financials are the things which you need to learn more. And to have a complete planning, take more time on planning. That's what I learned during my entrepreneurial journey. Take more and more time to design, plan, execute. But that takes a long time, because those who are scientists, they are more, they jump first onto the problem, because they know that that's the easiest thing what they can do. Because planning is something which is very, very critical. Until unless you plan well with all angles of technical, financial. So you have to do complete detailed project report of your own project, which we generally tend to not to do any documentation. Before starting any project, we don't do documentation at all. So most of the companies I have seen that we haven't given a complete, right from the screw to the complete device. We need to have a complete awareness of where exactly the product is and how the product looks like or what exactly is needed. We don't have that complete cycle of events which goes into a product development, and that has to be documented before starting your project. Don't document for the sake of somebody or a funding agency or the guy who gives you land or the guy who gives you an incubation center. So please plan according to that. So that's the biggest learning what I feel is to have any initiation of any project. And as I said, validation is a big challenge, not only for devices but even diagnostics. Though we are plenty, we top in the list of TB, we top in the list of HIV. We don't get samples. We don't. People are not. There are no enough centers, and unfortunately, CDCSCO has its own regulatory schemes, which you need to do only in government labs, or whether they are accredited or not, you need to do in government labs. That's unfortunate thing. So whether they are following the regulations or not, we need to do in government labs. So many of those, there are some, I think it's changing, but it has to change quite a bit to encourage more and more manufacturers. So validations is critical. So you need to have, these are all part of your whole design document. You need to have a complete design document before you initiate a project.
Thank you very much. I think the lifting of the project is the key. Where, how do you do that? Good points on, planning of it. But again, that includes financial. That's what you hinted upon, because although the mandate that we are having today is about productization, that's not about the physical product that we want to see. That's linked to all these, the regulatory, the prototyping, and the team and everything. So, touching upon to those points, Surya, do we have such kind of, for example, facilities, prototyping facilities, the Bangalore is having its own style, Delhi, not maybe in the main city, but again, Hyderabad, Balnagar areas, what are the crude way of prototyping and all. Now T-Works came. What you have seen, being an incubation manager earlier, you had an incubation and you built incubation centers about 10 years before. So how did you actually crack in your journey? And actually, what is the first thing an innovator should see if you want to prototype something? Can you please tell something about it?
So we use the word, your idea should have legs, which means does it have the potential to go on and survive on its own? That's very important. So prototyping, funding, all that will fall into place if your idea has commercial value primarily. So that is the first step. That's what I think everybody was touching upon. And you can't really, being in incubation centers, having run them, being part of CCMB's incubation center. See, many of our colleagues kind of dream about the usefulness of their idea, and imagine that's such a fantastic idea. It cannot be done like that. You have to go to the users, the end users, and figure out if it's really valuable or not. So from there starts your prototype. So another thing is we can't have a perfect prototype. right? We have to have something that does the minimum job required of it. It's called an MVP, right? Minimum viable product. Yeah. So you got to do that. So in our case, we ran to Balanagar. This was pre T-Works. So there'd be a giant river of sewage right next to the Balanagar fabrication thing, but we got our work done there. And that is what went to a top-notch medical facility. If the hospital saw where we fabricated, they wouldn't touch it in 100 years. Right next to a river of sewage, right, in Balanagar. So that's the thing. But the parameters, the specifications have to be very, very clear. So you accomplish what the machine or the device has to do, and you got to be very clear about it. And once you get to once you've done your R&D, basically you can't really overkill it, right? So my team, for example, gets very irritable when I go along with them to an installation, because I still have my R&D hat on, and they're all about standardization. So when I see something, I say, why don't you change that? And it's a very dangerous thing, because that could lead to some other unintended consequence. So the lessons are: have your specs ready, have something that works, does the job, get it perfect, then go back to your lab and maybe perfect it. So yeah, that's what we have learned. So I've stopped going to sites because they think I'm a distraction. We do our R&D in the lab, but most of the work has to be like process driven, documentation driven, replicability. It has to be repeatable. That is what we have learned. Yeah. So if you guys want to do the prototyping currently, there are, like, the electronics hub is ECIL. The metalwork hub is Balanagar. There is also Cherlapalli here. But T-Works, which is a Government of Telangana initiative, has fantastic equipment where you can go and prototype all your, even electronics, plastics, metalwork and all that stuff. So it's much better now for people trying to make devices.
So just talking on the facilities, you guys actually directed them actually how someone can actually look into prototype is nothing but kind of a tangible thing, but also link it to many other aspects. So coming to LVPI, as Surya is mentioning about the facilities, have you done before? I mean, I'm just a layman question. Sorry, I don't have any proper agenda of questions. What is that, the ecosystem, the startups needed, or have you done kind of surveys that time? Maybe LV Prasad, of course, having a couple of products gone global, I guess, the fantastic stories that we have. The main facility I came to know from Raghu and Vipin. So this question is, are we really equipped enough today to do an alpha prototype? And also the regulatory challenges, for example, the industrial designs. So how do you connect? How do you actually help them to design or reiterate their plans to develop a prototype in compliant to the regulatory, what you can say, works or regulatory prospects that we are looking for? Can you please say on that?
Thanks, Ramji. I think you asked a couple of questions. One is that are we really equipped to do the prototype? Second one is it in line with compliance? Yeah. So the answer to the first question is it depends on what we want to do. If you're saying, are we equipped to do a nanometer scale chip, then obviously no. But if you're asked, are we equipped to make a proper industrial design and proper mold for a product? Yes. Are we equipped to make a proper electronic design? Yes. Are we equipped to make a proper a mechanical, well-balanced one? Yes. Different metals? Yes. Glass? Yes. Different types of polymers? Yes. I'm not just talking about LV Prasad Eye Institute incubator, but I'm talking that, as a ecosystem, it is very well done. In fact, in one of the past profile as a chief operating officer of a public limited company, we have acquired BTS making company from ASA. That company was in Taiwan. So we acquired that company and then we started making our own BTS at that time. So typically, the RF components would be procured from Germany and some other key chips from Japan, and assembly, would be typically done in Bangalore, or assembly would be done in Taiwan, depending on where it is more viable at that time. So India is very prepared, and Hyderabad in particular is catching up very, very fast. So if you ask the ecosystem, it is available. So if you go and search, even a multinational company, they have set up their shop in Hyderabad. I just received a mail yesterday from MNC in US, based out of US, doing that. They have an office, and there is one, Mr. Prasad called me, said, we can do the designs for you in electronics. I said, where are you? The entire work is done in US, but they set a shop here, right in Hyderabad, next road. So if you ask, yes, very much. For most of our needs, our ecosystem is ready. It is available, which could do. And the next one is the compliance. So the compliance is little lucid now, because there are a lot of compliance in the past also, not just healthcare, but for the sake of industry or for other things, government sort of going soft on them. They're not shutting down the shops. They're not banning the product or anything. They're given a guideline. They're given a voluntary registration. And now they just, they do a soft start or stop. In that way, it is better to the industry. Perhaps it's industry friendly. So even some of the products compliance with CE or certification are guided right here in Hyderabad. So the ecosystem is ready for any compliance, not just for Indian compliance, any compliance. Not only that, the established manufacturers like Shishir or the other people here, they not only make their own products, but they also make their assembly line available for making other products as a OEM and help them to comply with those kind of certifications. So we have such partners in the industry available who already have the CE certified product and FDA certified product, but they have the same knowledge and everything available for others to take up and use it. So ecosystem is very well available, and it can very well comply with not just Indian compliance, regulatory compliance, but even international.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. So, people come here, okay, I need this to be injection molded or maybe any 3D printed, whatever, But again, at the same time, whether you can actually advise, that's what you're telling about the partners. Okay, regulatory, maybe consultants you may be having, and they can actually guide them. Okay, this could be suitable or this may not be suitable. So I'm not having that knowledge of industrial suitability and all those terminologies I cannot use here. But whether any prototyping facility, Surya, whether they will be guiding them properly, this is the way you have to go. I mean, is that the way the T-Works or maybe the prototyping facilities will be? Can you please comment on this?
Yeah, I happen to have one device to be developed based on image processing, and we are developing a POCT device. I sort of figured out that probably Hyderabad, nobody is there to do that. So many things they are not at specific place. Like if I have to go for IoT based or anything like firmware types. So there's somebody sits in Bangalore, and prototype based on image stuff, somebody sits somewhere else. So objective is to get on one platform. Probably incubation centers play a major role in that. Probably advertising more and getting more road shows of what they do, because that is to be very keen for all industries, because we don't know what exactly is to be done. I'm easily approachable. I was CCAM for me, rather approaching LVPI, because I didn't know about LVPI at all. So objective is connecting the dots to the entrepreneur is very, very crucial. Probably you need to have more and more ecosystem development towards it, so that we can use the facility. And many of the startups need at very affordable price. You cannot charge exorbitant. A small device cannot cost you more than 3 to 4 lakhs max. But now the charges are exorbitant. They are more than 10 lakhs in CCAM, which I had to pay. So that should not be the case, at least for MVPs and
MVPs. Oh, thanks, sir. That's a good point, because again, awareness, this today's meeting itself, when Sadhguru came up, let's do something in this, so people should know. And CCMB having its own capabilities of maybe some diagnostic samples or some diagnostic platforms or LVPI, some prototyping. So again, with the experience of Altheon and UL or SIRFBio kind of stories. So Pankaj, I don't want you to be left alone listening to, because money is there, right? So money is there. So in the sense, I'm sorry, just in your experience, because you already told about Semantic. Again, Semantic is our startup. So they actually enrolled with this. What's the program name? Boot Up. Yes, Boot Up. They got enrolled. And then they actually raised this fund of 70 lakhs or 1 crore, I guess. So, in your experience, people come to you for money only, of course, money majorly. But otherwise also, you have such a network or mentoring platform or pool that can help them raise funds at the prototype level or in the seed level or pre-seed level. Can you please share some of the experience in that level? How the Bangalore, probably, you might have seen a lot of stories in Bangalore, and any one or two cases, if you can tell, in comparison with Hyderabad today.
So, I can't really compare Hyderabad, Bangalore, because we do pan-India, right? Anybody can come from anywhere and we help them. But there are two case studies that I would like to say. There is a company called Ameliorate, based out of Bangalore, big grantee, and also Sparsh, I think they've got. They developed a product, and which basically with 1 drop of blood, in less than a minute, they can measure whether you have a malaria, chikungunya, or dengue, which was normally a 72-hour process. And their biggest problem was, how do they get prototype out? In concept, it was there. Big grant had come. They were using that money. But the next challenge was clinical trial. Will they get money for clinical trial? Because that expense is close to 75 lakhs. And big grant is not, or BIRAC or anybody is not going to give that money. Where does money come from? So we took them through the same process called Boot Up, where we help them validate their idea from the user-centric point of view. Now, if you are from healthcare industry, you can imagine such a equipment. Who's going to use it? Any answers? Who's the end user of such a product? Now you're all wrong. When they went there, somebody said PHCs. Yeah, exactly. So when they went into the market, they interviewed 200 doctors, about 100 pathological labs. And after that, they came and realized that pathological labs really don't want that, because that's the competition to them. They take for 3 tests and this guy is giving in 1 test and costs less than 200 rupees. Next, they went to the hospitals and hospitals showed them away. We don't want it. Who's going to recommend this? They went to the physicians and he said, how many you got? Because when the guy comes to me, he's looking to get, he needs to understand what has he got. So I take a drop of blood and I tell him, boss, you got chikungunya. Straight go for it. Otherwise, you first do malaria, then chikungunya, then dengue. Now, when they realized this, they were really shaken up themselves. So they came back, and then a mentor called Prabal Chakravarti. He was CEO for Boston Scientific. He's the mentor for them. He helped them devise a plan. And then we took them to investor and said, they need money. This is the scope of the work. This is the market availability. This is the revenue they can do. And before they did all that, their only way to sell was tenders. Now they suddenly realize that every physician wants to keep at least 200 of them in this thing. Imagine the market in Bangalore itself, where they had 800 odd physicians. So suddenly the money poured, and they came to the group, and 2 crores were given to them. They are going through the clinical trial right now, and we are raising a bridge round for them for another 2 crores because of the pandemic. The clinical trial got delayed, right? And rightly somebody said here, it cost lakhs of rupees. Then they did not get a hospital which could actually sponsor them. Those are the issues. But what I'm trying to say is, having a mentor along, he just opened doors for them. Which hospital do you want to go? This hospital. Okay, I'll talk to them. So the prototyping and all comes after you validated the commercial viability of the product. Prototype, again, the viability has to be done again, because that prototype has a different unit cost, different, other cost related to it, put it into the market. So that will be, again, you will go back and again assess that. So that was just one case which told us that, and that was probably the first case where a startup got funded even for the clinical trial. And then there is another startup that we are currently, it's a physiotherapy startup, and this is done by a college student, two college students, one physiotherapy doctor and another is the engineer. And they developed this product which basically can help rehabilitation process faster. It can test the muscle strength. And 16 or 17 months, and they are ready with the prototype. Again, we did not do anything. A gentleman called Anil Iyer, who was the head of GSK business, he helped them walk through that process of creating a prototype, and they got funded for prototype. So, again, but they first did the validation, commercial validation, whether the physiotherapy is needed, what is the market, and the innovation they did was amazing, because normally whatever is available is only available for hand. This is the strength in it. Now this can measure all the muscles in your body, the strength of each and every. So the rehabilitation, the value proposition is 20 times better than that. So I think money is available. The process you adopt is right. And I completely agree with what he said. There has to be a user-centric approach and commercial validation before you even go for a prototype.
Wonderful points. When you start a project, before the project, you have to go for the documentation, the plan, as Shishir mentioned, and also you have to identify the key stakeholders where you can actually help prototyping. And again, ecosystem, that what Ratnam sir mentioned, that we have to work together. We have to identify, okay, if I'm not having a full-fledged way of facilities, then you can go there, some kind of thing. And again, you rightly mentioned about validation or reiteration, and before to that you have to go understand who are the right customer. Many of the people actually think, okay, diagnostic centers. I mean, this case I'm just telling, So, but again, you have to redefine your customer segments. So maybe I'll ask Shishir one more question actually, because medical devices or diagnostic, any other such tangible products or maybe intangible even. For example, we have software-based SAMDs, for example. A lot of pathways to clear, and Shishir cracked some of the regulatory challenges in India. And Shishir, can you please tell one case of, your products, for example, the normal centrifuge that you developed along with Incubate, or maybe as a kind of advisory by the Incubate, whatever. So, kind of 3-4 steps that are the challenges that you faced so that you could able to achieve that. Can you please tell as a case study?
Yeah, I think that's the easiest one, because that doesn't need IVD certification yet, because we haven't gone for IVD or CE marking of centrifuge yet. But I think identification, what I said is the design itself, if you can identify which category or which class of products they fall into. In the planning itself, you can incorporate those line of activities, because right now guidelines are very clear. Even Amazon sells the MDR 2017 CDCSCO guidelines. It is not, earlier it was very difficult to even identify a guideline to find out what is guideline suitable for our product. So currently even you get book anywhere, and now earlier the expertise of QA lied in those who have information. So right now it is not so. Right now information is more on public domain, so you can understand whether it falls in class A, class B, class C or D. So which classes of, then based on that you can plan. And IS consultants do help. but majority should come from yourself, and you should understand the complete documentation. I think purely it all, because we are very poor in documentation, which I do get from every industry. We are very poor in documenting what we do. So if you document it in a logical traceability with all proper controls, then you can crack any CDSCO, the CDSCO regulatory clearances. That's not a big challenge these days. Objective is to identify which class of products you'd fall. And in that, I think one technique, apart from financial mentorship, you should also have technical mentorship. Without having a technical mentorship, finally you end up in saying that, boss, after a while, probably I would have done so and so. And because startups vision is limited, so the mentors' visions are more deep in the markets. So they understand the viability of the product, and technically, if there is to be changed initially, that has to be changed initially itself. Because once you make a product, then it becomes a big challenging task for you to. Any change would attract your regulatory clearances. So identify those, and mentorship plays, I think, both technically and financially, irrespective of it. Probably another thing is probably association of industries with different industries. Definitely people like GSK, what he's talking about, that makes more sense. So they have many good understanding. I only apprehension startups do have is if you talk about the data, who owns the data? So that becomes a big challenge, because once you start sharing data and information to big companies, startups have no role. So that's a sort of apprehension any startup would have.
They don't want data. They want platforms that can help them get their own.
Okay.
They don't want data.
Okay. So, but many of them is the IP sharing, which actually worries more of the startups.
That's why we sit in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's very good point. And I think they're fairer now. You have multiple opportunities. Startups can grow much faster, but collaborating with each other makes more life easier. That's actually within your community itself, within your startups itself. If you can collaborate and work together, you can get the product out quickly. So ultimately, what it counts is what you have. If you don't have any prototype with you and still claim that you do want to proceed further with validations and all that stuff, doesn't make sense. So until unless you collaborate and do work together, probably you can attract better grants as well.
Thank you, Shishir. Before we open questions, actually, Surya, you want to add anything in that line? The challenges may be different, or so.
Maybe about mentors. So you have to be very careful you pick the right mentors. Somebody who's already done it, right? If you look on YouTube, you'll find somebody posing next to a yacht saying, I went from 1 crore to 50 crores. You don't know the reality of the guy at all. You better pick people who have done it in respectable large companies, who have no hidden agendas, who do not, are quite ethical, have a reputation for integrity. That is what very important. Because there's a lot of people riding the startup wave in India without doing startups themselves. So be very careful there.
We are an industrial IoT and asset monitoring company, specifically focused towards operational technologies. Operational technologies, we are domain agnostic, but we are focusing right now on biotech, medtech, and life science domains, as well as logistics related to the same domains. So what we are into optimizing your current processes through by introducing Internet of Things. This is industrial Internet of Things or Internet of Medical Things that we introduce. And we do it through sensors, through tags, through air quality monitoring devices, your process controllers, say in your pharma domain, for your API application API process, you need process controllers which can be remotely controlled, monitored, and tracked. And we make those process controllers, and everything is designed and made in India. We are into hardware as well as software. So we provide an end-to-end solution, and we don't end by just bringing your data to the cloud. We introduce your data science and low-code tools. We empower your existing IT team, and we don't take control over the whole data. So we empower every enterprise already has an IT team. Since last 20 years, the whole thing about introducing IT into your enterprises was a big thing. But you need to upgrade these IT teams so that they can be utilized for your operational technologies as well. And we introduce operational tools which can be used to optimize your processes in your pharmaceutical and life science domain specifically. And right from your hardware, software, we provide these tools for your IT team. We are not just a device manufacturer or your just a process controller manufacturer. We empower your existing team so that they can optimize the whole process. Done with the development. We are done with our MVP last month, and we are out in the market with 3 to 4 customers, paying customers, and we are looking out for investments. Yeah, so the investment round is going to start from next month onwards. We are going to pitch to multiple investors, and we are expecting in another 3 to 6 months our life science and pharma related products will be out. We are trying to raise at least 0.5 million. Million, yeah. We got into through the startup seed fund program. We had applied to CCMB because we are mainly focusing towards pharmaceutical and life science domain, and the kind of work we were doing, and the other startups that we were working with who were already incubated in CCMB, that definitely helped us convince CCMB to probably invest in us.
We have a vision that animal immunizations are a generation ago. Nowadays, with faster development of antibodies requirements that we have, a totally synthetic system of antibody development is required. With a synthetic library already established, the time taken for development and fully taking an antibody to the market can be drastically reduced. An antibody developed through an animal immunization methodology can take as many as 3 to 4 years, whereas in a fully synthetic library system, the developmental phase is drastically reduced to about 6 months to just a year or so. So not just the time taken for the development, but the enormous cost reduction because of the lack of any large-scale farms that are required and everything. It will make the development of antibodies very affordable. And newer technologies like mutagenesis, etc., with a single lead molecule, we can develop multiple other combinations and other mutagenic peptides that can react with rapidly changing proteins. Like for example, the SARS-CoV infections, we see a lot of mutagenesis being happening and a lot of new variants coming up. Development of antibodies to such variants is very quicker if we have a synthetic platform technology. We are just in a proof of concept stage. We have already finished establishing our library. We have started a few targets that we have already proposed to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the big grant which is the DBT is giving out, We have already applied and we have been shortlisted to that. So it's just in the proof of concept stage for now. The going commercial will take us just about a year or so. It should not be longer than a year. In terms of pricing, currently we are funded mainly through angel investors. But in order to go to a market stage, we will need in terms of about 50 lakhs to a crore rupees. AIC CCMB has been a very, very good support for us. We have started just as one person without any kind of instrumentation. With just the ideas that we had, we were now at a stage where we are able to identify targets and generate antibodies against targets. So the CCMB, in terms of their support, not just instruments but also the intellectual support they have given us, has been tremendous.
We are a medtech company located in industrial area Opal. We were incubated in AIC CCMB till about a year and a half ago. And we make ultra pure water units for kidney dialysis as well as laboratory research purposes. We were awarded with a national award in 2020, and we are now expanding our product offerings into the laboratory water segment, solar manufacturing, semiconductor industry, and so on. Yeah, we have about a crore and a half plus of revenues from sales to hospitals, kidney dialysis centers, and laboratories. So the next step in our company's evolution is to scale up this technology from a manufacturing perspective. So we're looking for follow-up funding, Series A funding at this point. We started our journey at AIC CCMB in October 2018. Once we got funding from BIRAC through the BIG scheme. So AIC CCMB has been very helpful in terms of connecting future customers, science validation, quality analysis using our HPLC systems in AIC, and so on. So I can probably safely say that AIC CCMB is responsible for accelerating our growth at a critical phase of our development life cycle. Thank you.
Neuronics, we are building 10 minutes blood diagnostic platform wherein you can just put 2 drops of blood right from your finger, and then we give you analysis in less than 10 minutes. So at the end, if you actually look at all the primary health centers, the way diagnosis is done today, it takes more than 24 hours to get you basic tests like CBC and peripheral smear. We want to change the way this particular diagnostic is done, and we want to bring a new shift in primary diagnostics, wherein if a patient comes into the clinic, they do not have to step out of the clinic. Right at the clinic, their diagnosis can be done, and the doctors can treat them more confidently. So we are at the, I would say, pre-commercialization. We are already at clinical trial stage at AIIMS New Delhi, and we have already got our patent granted, and hopefully by next year we would be in the market. So we won Amazon Sambhav Top 5 Award, and we were also the winners of Scale X IIIT Delhi. I think it's one of the most important associations that we have till now. It's a beautiful relation. I mean, I can't just describe it in words because there are people who support you right from the technology to, I mean, in getting people who can help you with, say, certification. So we are exploring all those. Apart from the money, there's a lot of things that goes with CCMB.
We are here incubated with AIC CCMB from the past 3-4 months, and we are working on developing recombinant proteins and therapeutics, which based on a bacterial expression system, where we are mostly concentrated on developing glycosylated proteins, which is hard to find in bacterial system. So we are developing a system, a bacterial recombinant system, where we are developing hyaluronidase protein, which is very much important for various applications in chemotherapy, ophthalmology and all those things. But currently it is major production is from animal derived protein. Only one recombinant protein from CHO cells is being produced, but we are planning to develop this in bacterial system where we can decrease the cost effectiveness. So we are in the POC stage. Yes. We need an investment of 50 lakhs to 1 crore. And it will take around 1 year to 1.5 years to make it to the market. Currently, we have only Startup India recognition, and just now we started. So we are expecting a few grants from these things. So we are applying, but not yet. We didn't receive anything till now.
We are working on a product called Tripada, which is a three-way communication platform for the autistic kids, those who cannot communicate. So our device will take the vocal cord vibrations into consideration and a lot of other parameters, and in real time these will be analyzed and given to a visual board for a parent or teacher to communicate in a better way. So this is what we are working on, and our product is in stage 2 right now, and we are going to test and validate across India, US and Canada right now. So far we have done almost 220, which is not a small sample, although, and we are going globally right now. 1.5 years, because we do have a parallel business plan to come up with some revenues with the platform that we are separately bringing up for the autism parents and kids, which is like an e-commerce platform for them. So simultaneously the revenues will kickstart during this, the whole journey before we go into the market, to the market. So we are trying to raise almost 4 to 5 million within a time span of 8 months. So we were the first set of startups that we started here, and the support given by CCMB is tremendous, and now we are here because of CCMB, right? And hope to see this further support from CCMB as well. Thank you.
Welcome viewers
to another episode of Wantrepreneur Show. We are at Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, IIITH. As part of the idea validation, aspiring entrepreneurs are undergoing boot camp at the CIE. My next guest is Fatah Ali, who is working on his startup idea is into fintech, which is buy now, pay later. Let's talk to him and understand what is it all about. Fatah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thanks a lot.
So, buy now, pay later, all of us want that, right? That we buy today, most of us
most
want
of the
it.
Indians.
Most of the Indians. So, tell us, how is it different to a credit card or any of the other financial instruments out there?
Basically, if you have an SBI credit card or an HDFC credit card, you have a term loan of 45 to 60 days at a 0.8% interest, which is capped by more than 60 days, which is again an RBI's compliance or regulatory. But in terms of going with our startup, where we provide 4 to 6 weeks of window for the repayment, we give a credit line with the bank, and we provide 4 to 6 weeks of the repayment option. With the help of RBI's compliance and the regulatory, we can do it more. It depends on the CIBIL score of the customers, and we have 0% interest fee.
So what you're saying is, if I were to use your instrument,
for
I
the
get
next
4
2
to
months,
6 weeks with zero interest.
Zero interest for the next 2 months.
For 2 months?
Next 2 months.
Okay.
0% interest. Whereas if you use a credit card, you have to pay 0.8% of the interest.
Even if I pay on time? Even if I pay within the time?
No. Within the time you pay 0% interest.
Yes.
But if you pay after the time, it's 0.8% interest. So we are capturing Gen Zs, millennials who are into online shopping, retails, healthcare, edtech. Healthcare in the sense we have a different platform for it called Save Now Pay Later, where you have a minor injuries or minor surgeries or major surgeries or major operations to be done before. If you don't have a credit line, it takes hardly 30 seconds to enroll with us, get your CIBIL scores done, KYCs and social security, and you'll have a credit line dependent on your CIBIL score. And we provide a credit line straight away for healthcare, medtech, healthcare, edtech as well, and retail side where you're online shopping. But we are more focused into in-store shopping rather than online shopping. We want to be the UPI of the BPN, but in store. If you go in store, you might use a credit card or debit card. There's hardly UPIs. There's hardly UPIs you can see in store. If you go to the mall like Zara, H&M or anywhere, you hardly find UPIs. You find credit cards or cash. But we want to be the UPI of the in-store, where you can buy now and pay later with us. You just need to scan it, as simple as that, and we have an algorithm and AI which breaks down your payment into 4 and shows you this is your, for example, if you have a payment of 10,000, it will break down into 4 and give it to you, or 5, give it to you in 2,000 rupees. First you pay 2,000, or you don't pay 2,000, you leave it as to us, and then you pay us in next 5 EMIs.
So what is the minimum credit line an individual can get from your platform?
Starting at rupees 10 to 15,000 up to 5 lakhs or more, depends on the CIBIL score and the requirement of the customers.
So do you have a prototype ready, as in?
We are about to build a prototype. We have started working on a prototype. It's back-end. Back-end work is getting done. Once we finish the back-end, we'll go with the front-end. Once the front-end work is done, then we are going to hit the market as soon as possible.
So, do you already have a tie-up with banks and funds in place?
I have a list of banks who are ready to give the credit line, such as SBI, HDFC and ICICI. These three are very keen enough to provide credit lines, especially in the Indian market and South Asian market. ICICI was more interested in terms of South Asian market with BNPL, as there are a lot of players. There's Pine Labs who's getting into Singapore with BNPL. There's Slice in India who's trying to break 10 years of norms of ZestPay, PayU, and there are a lot of players. So Slice has done it in India. We are trying to not replicate Slice because we are not Slice. Slice is complete different model. We are much more, in terms of customer base rather than merchant base. They are more focused on merchants. We are focusing on Gen Z, millennials, 12 plus, even 12 plus kids are now using neo banking with the help of their parents. So our target sector is there, and then once we adapt that, we might head towards the other urban cities. And once the urban cities we unlock, we are more focused on the rural side, which is 60% of the India. It's still the rural, and we might give them an awareness and create them, help them how to use the application. No, it's alright. Okay. How to use the application and how to use the complete resources and how to get a credit line through us and how to repay us back. We'll be try to teach them or create them an awareness programs. So yeah, that's how we're going to.
So how did you come up with this? How did you come up with this whole thought of creating another, as you said, UPI for in-store shopping?
Not exactly UPI for BNPL.
BNPL, yes, sorry.
Yes. As you can say, Slice, Zest, and Simple Pay, Lazy Pay, all these people have different sort of customer feedbacks and different sort of customer review system, or they have given different sort of customers payment system. But we as a Wise, we take care of the customers longer duration repayment terms. Like they have 4 weeks or 5 weeks, we take care of 6 weeks to 8 weeks. It depends on the customer's progress or the customer's repayment style. And apart from that, we are more focused into healthcare. These players, they are not into healthcare. They don't provide instant credit line for healthcare. For example, if you have a minor or major surgery tomorrow, God forbid, anybody, we give them in less than 30 seconds. So they don't have to go through all the hustle bustle of the payment first and then the operations and part. So the whole idea is to save now a human life and then pay later. Human life matters more than a monopoly. So first the save now and then the pay later. Healthcare part. Retail, we are collaborating with Nykaa, Amazon, H&M, Zara. There are a lot of retail sectors out there which we are collaborating, and we are talks in terms of all those international brands who are not yet in India. We are collaborating first with them so that we can have a different image and a different aura in terms of BNPL of a UPI. And we are more focused on international cross-border shopping as well. That's the first initiative which we took, and we are trying to implement it as soon as possible, which could be cross-border shopping. For example, if you want to shop somewhere nearby country like Nepal, Bhutan, Singapore, or even Gulf GCC countries, you can shop through us and you can buy now pay later with us.
And tell us about your team. How big is it?
Right now I am a lone wolf, and I do have you can say a CFO or a legal compliance person, but she is not yet ready, and we are still focusing on the co-founder side. But right now we are just outsourcing it, and I have few interns from IITs, quotas and stuff who are helping me build backend and front end, and that's how it is going.
And you're bootstrapped?
We are bootstrapped right now, and I am funding it from my own pockets.
Okay. And you're trying to raise fund after this? And
first the product would be ready, and then I would sample it, cater it to 150, 200 people around the retail market who are ready customers. I do have a list of 200 people who are ready to use my product. Once we do it, we bootstrap it. After bootstrapping, I would do a word of mouth and marketing, and then I would raise funds.
You've been here at the CIE for the workshop. How has that helped you in re-strategizing or remodeling your business thought?
It was pretty much the same which I did as a business model, to be honest, but I had to rephrase a few things, such as optimizing customers or optimizing merchants and keeping a healthy balance between them, and juggling between customers satisfaction and the merchant satisfaction, and trying to relocate in terms of what customer needs and what they want rather than what we thought of giving them, and having a pure feedback of what they would expect out of a BNPL rather than what others are doing, and trying to differentiate ourselves from the other BNPL players, and exactly not even telling you all those things which other BNPL players might know, or they want to try it, but we want to do it as soon as possible.
Welcome viewers to another episode of Wantrepreneurs Show. We are at the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the IIITH. As part of the boot camp for idea validation, we are with our next guest, who is Raja Suman Pattu. And Gattu, my next guest is Rajasuman Gattu, and his idea is about, he's building a plastic collector that helps in recycling plastic waste, especially the plastic bags. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, sir. So
tell us about your idea. What is it about?
Sir, this is only a collector box, sir. Okay. I have shown you the box. Okay, sir. How the mechanism works is, when you put it into that box, no, at some point కొంచెం స్టేజ్ వరకు సెన్సర్స్ దాకా వచ్చి తీసుకుంటుంది సార్. తర్వాత అది ఏం చేస్తుంది అంటే ప్రెస్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, ప్లాస్టిక్ అంతా ప్రెస్ చేస్తుంది. ఎనీ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ప్లాస్టిక్ సార్, మిల్క్, గ్రాసరీ.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు మన ఇంట్లో ప్లాస్టిక్ ప్యాక్స్ వస్తాయి, మిల్క్ వస్తుంది, కూరగాయలు వచ్చింది అనుకోండి. సో ఆ ప్లాస్టిక్ బ్యాగ్స్ ని మీరు అంటారు ఈ బాక్స్ మీ కలెక్టర్ బాక్స్ లో వేసేయాలి. ఓకే, వేసిన తర్వాత ఏమవుతుంది
సార్? ఇది ఏం చేస్తుందంటే ఒక గేర్ బాక్స్, ఒక మోటార్ ఉంటుందండి, ఒక ఎస్ఎస్ ప్లేట్ ఉంటుందండి. మనం వేసినాక అదేం చేస్తుందంటే డైలీ వన్స్ ప్రెస్ చేస్తుందండి. సో కింద ఒకటి రిజిట్ లాగా తయారవుతుందండి, బ్రిక్ లాగా రిజిట్ లాగా. ఈ బాక్స్ మేము అమ్మేటప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తామంటే ఒక డస్ట్బిన్ కూడా ఇస్తామండి. సో ఆ కలెక్ట్ చేసిందంతా అలా పెట్టుకోవాలండి. కలెక్షన్ పాయింట్ నేను మళ్ళీ చెప్తానండి, ఈ బాక్స్ గురించి చెప్తున్నాను నేను. సో బేసిక్గా ఏంటంటే మనం కవర్స్ బయట వేయకుండా, డస్ట్బిన్ వేయకుండా, ఎన్వైరన్మెంటల్ ప్రాబ్లం రాకుండా ఇది చేస్తుందండి. సో బయట వేయకుండా బేసిక్ పాయింట్ అండి ఇది. సో హౌ ఇట్ వర్క్ సార్, ఇది బాక్స్ అండి. ఒక్కసారి వేసినాక మనకు అంత ఆటోమేటిక్ తీసుకుంటుందండి, సింపుల్. There is no.
సో ఎన్ని రోజులకు మనం ఒకసారి దాంట్లో కలెక్షన్ చేసిన
అది అప్ టు 4 to 5 kgs కెపాసిటీ ఇస్తున్నాం సార్. అది మీకు సెన్సర్స్ లో తెలిసిపోతుంది, బాక్స్ ఇస్ ఫిల్డ్.
ఓకే,
సో మనం తీసేసొచ్చు. సో 3 sides వెంట్ కూడా ఇస్తున్నామండి. ఏంటంటే ప్రాబ్లం స్మెల్ వస్తుంది మనం,
కరెక్ట్.
ఆ స్మెల్ కూడా మనకు యాంటీ స్మెల్ కూడా చేస్తున్నామండి, దానికోసం చేస్తున్నాం. ఆ వెంట్ మనకు వెళ్ళిపోతుందండి, స్మెల్ వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. ఇది కొంచెం కరెంట్ తోటి యూజ్ అయ్యేదండి.
సో దాని తర్వాత కలెక్షన్ ఇప్పుడు బ్రిక్ అయిపోయింది, బ్రిక్ రెడీ అయిపోయింది. దాని తర్వాత ఏం చేయాలి? హౌ డు మనం ఆ ప్లాస్టిక్ ఏం చేయాలి?
ఆ డస్ట్బిన్ నేను ఎంత ఇస్తున్నా అలా పెట్టుకోండి మీరు. ఓకే, వన్ థింగ్ ఈజ్ మేము కలెక్ట్ చేసుకుంటామండి, సెకండ్ థింగ్ ఈజ్ ఎన్జిఓస్, థర్డ్ థింగ్ ఈజ్ గవర్నమెంట్ అండి, లేదంటే థర్డ్ పార్టీకి మేము చెప్తామండి. ఆ కలెక్షన్ అంతా ఏం చేసుకుంటామంటే ఐదర్ వి రీసైకిల్ ఇట్, ఆర్ మేము వచ్చిందంటే ఏంటంటే దాంట్లో ప్రాపర్టీస్ తీసేసి రోడ్ కాంట్రాక్ట్స్కి ఇస్తామండి. ఆ ప్లాస్టిక్ అంతా ప్రాపర్టీస్ తీసేసి అనుకోండి, ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ మన రోడ్ అయినా ఎటైనా చేసుకోవచ్చండి. ఆ రీసైక్లింగ్ దాంట్లో మన గ్రాన్యూల్స్ వస్తాయండి, గ్రాన్యూల్స్ తోటి మనం ఎన్నో ప్రోడక్ట్స్ చేసుకోవచ్చండి. ఈ ఫర్నిచర్స్కి సబ్స్టిట్యూట్ అది వాడుకోవచ్చండి మనం.
సో కరెంట్లీ మీకు ప్రోటోటైప్ చేశారా లేకుంటే ఐడియా స్టేజ్?
ఇట్స్ స్టిల్ ఐడియా స్టేజ్ సార్. నేను యాక్చువల్లీ ఢిల్లీ అంబాలాకి వెళ్ళానండి. వాళ్ళు ఏంటంటే నాకు కొంచెం అమౌంట్ అడిగారు, కొంచెం రీసెర్చ్ కోసం అమౌంట్ అడిగారు. సో ఎంతవరకు అది మోటార్, గేర్ బాక్స్, ఎంత పిహెచ్ అవన్నీ ఎంత తీయాలో మీకు, సో దానికోసం ఇంకా అక్కడనే ఉన్నానండి నేను. ఇంకా ముందు
అయితే మీ టీంలో ఎవరు ఉన్నారు అంటే ఎందుకంటే దీంట్లో ఒకటేమో మీకు టెక్నాలజీ సైడ్ కూడా కావాలి, బిజినెస్ సైడ్, సో ఎవరు ఉన్నారు టీంలో?
రైట్ నౌ నేను ఒక్కనే ఉన్నానండి. ఐ వాంట్ టీమ్, ఐ వాంట్ కో-ఫౌండర్, ఐ వాంట్ దిస్ థింగ్ లైక్ సార్, ఫండింగ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. సో ఐఎమ్ ద ఓన్లీ పర్సన్ సార్.
వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్? అంటే మీది ఇంజనీర్?
సార్ ఐఎమ్ నార్మల్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్. టు బి ఫ్రాంక్, నాన్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్. నేను డిస్కంటిన్యూ చేశాను. ఐఎమ్ ఇన్ టు బిజినెస్ ఫ్రమ్ పాస్ట్ 20 years అండి.
సో మీకు స్ట్రాంగ్ బిజినెస్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఉంది?
యా, ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, బిజినెస్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, ఓన్లీ బిజినెస్ సార్. మా డాడ్ తోటి నేను కొట్లాడి బిజినెస్కి వచ్చాను సార్. సో ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు ఫెయిల్ మై సెల్ఫ్.
వెరీ గుడ్. అండ్ ఇదే ప్లాస్టిక్ దే ఏదో చేయాలనుకున్నారు?
సి దెర్ ఈస్ ఎ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ ఎవ్రీవేర్ సార్. ఇది మన ఇంట్లోనే కాదు సార్, మన సొసైటీలో కాదు, మన స్టేట్లో కాదు, మన కంట్రీలో, మొత్తం ఆల్ ఓవర్ ద వరల్డ్ ది ప్రాబ్లం ఉంది సార్. మన హైదరాబాద్లో ప్లాస్టిక్ కానీ వేస్ట్ ఇదంతా ఏం చేస్తారంటే రామ్కి వాళ్ళు తీసుకెళ్తారు సార్. సో వాళ్ళంతా తీసుకెళ్ళి ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఒక జాగాలో డంప్ చేసి దానికి ఎంత కావాలో అంత తీసుకొని తర్వాత అంతా కాల్ చేస్తారండి. సో అది ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ ప్రాబ్లం అండి. ఈ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ ప్రాబ్లం కోసం నేను వచ్చానండి.
సో మీరు నిన్న క్యాంప్ అటెండ్ చేశారు ఇక్కడ, కొంచెం కాలేదా? సో ఈ క్యాంప్ లో మీకు వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ ఎక్స్పెక్టేషన్ అంటే ఈ క్యాంప్ ద్వారా?
యా సార్, ఫస్ట్ థింగ్ ఇస్ ఫండింగ్. ఫర్ ప్రోటోటైప్ కోసం కొంచెం ఫండింగ్ కావాలి సార్. ఎందుకంటే ఒక్క బాక్స్ వస్తే కానీ ఎవరికైనా అర్థం కాదు సార్. నేను మీకు బాక్స్ చూపించాను కదా, సో అది ఎట్లా వర్క్ చేస్తుంది ఏంటి అనేది ఆ ప్రోటోటైప్ బాక్స్ కోసం నాకు ఫండింగ్ కావాలండి, అంతే. దాని తర్వాత మనం గవర్నమెంట్ అప్రోచ్ కావచ్చండి. సో అండ్ చెప్పేసి గవర్నమెంట్స్ కూడా మనకు సపోర్ట్ చేస్తుందండి, స్టార్ట్అప్ కంపెనీస్ సపోర్ట్ చేస్తుంది మనకు.
థ్యాంక్ యూ రాజసుమన్ గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
Welcome viewers to another episode of Wantrepreneur Show. We are here at Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship as part of the boot camp for idea validation. My next guest is Premchand, who is working on his ideas about connecting education institutions with students. Prem, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us, about your idea as to what it is. You're trying to connect education institution with students. What's the thought?
As of now, the student, after I have to come into the primary target customers. In India, many coaching institutes are there, like in UPSC and IT side and art side. Many coaching institutes are there, and YouTube, how to create a YouTube channel like. But when student passed out for education after graduation, they inquiry on the institutes. What is the best way to study, or which course is better for the career? They do and search in Google or using Just Dial and contact the institutes and collect them information, the fees and where the demo day reached.
So they get all the information online.
Yes. That scenario, I have to create one mobile app for that. I have to welcome all institutes or educational bodies. They provide their data. Like it is in a dynamic data. Every day it changes.
So what basically your platform or your app is going to have information about all the education institutions,
yes.
the type of courses they offer,
Yes.
what is the fee structure, and students can access that and kind of make
send to the application request and request for demos and inquire the fees and compare the features with one institute to another institute. I have to connect with all our world educational institutes from schools to like upper stand. It is the one side, and I have to other side I have to sell the educational e-commerce products like books or directly from publishers like that, and other revenue model like that. I have to connect the students with success stories. Suppose everyone know the Bill Gates story and Zuckerberg story, but the common people not need that story. They need a 3 years of experience software engineer story. They need UPS service story. That I have to connect that people to take a mock interview. From that, take the career. Like suppose the coach, any institutes are not teaching the how to become a CEO, how to become a good manager. Suppose I have a 3 years of experience in ML. Okay, now I have to how to become a good manager in my sector. Any institute are not tell that, because institutes also don't know about it. The only experienced people will know. That's why I have to connect that people to the learners and the enthusiast persons.
So at what stage are you in? I mean, is it at the additional stage, or do you have a prototype?
I have the prototype. Now I have to launch the MVP model next month, October 5th. Okay. The name is the bestcoach.com.
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 Okay.
I have applied for company registration for that. Before that, I have to prepare a POC application. I have to test with few institutes in Amirpet. Because in any institutes, they are not in digitalized their process. The fee structures are inquiry forms, admission. There is no digitalization. For that, I have create the institute's management application also. Then when a student coming to their institute, everything in digitalized and fingerprints. The admin or owner of the institute will see what going in institute like that. And also in another thing side, now India is booming in edutech companies. Okay, but before side, many universities are there. 1,000 plus universities are in India. 42,000 colleges, 15 lakh schools are there. There's so many teachers are there. I have to talk to teachers. We have to give your data to this app, because you have to earn money from there, because you are the more perfect for compared to the edutech, because they don't have the real time to teaching with peoples. The teacher will get the more because they in career they daily interact with students, how to teach it, which student how to think like that, because that people I have to take them and give to the society. It is more connecting and with a low cost fee.
Okay.
It is the user view. Same like institute side. Why institutes are coming to us? Suppose IIT Hyderabad is there. IIT Hyderabad name in Twitter or Flipkart, so many name institutes are there. Which one is the good? First thing. Okay, their verified symbol is there after the 10,000 followers, and they applied for registration. Because my application I have to take the only good institutes. Then without any offline, they do some false. That institutes I have not take it. I have to take only good institutes in my application.
Why did you think of this particular business idea?
Because of in my journey. Okay, after my BTech I have been doing in mechanical engineering. After BTech I have to come into search for my career choice. I have to attend many demos in IT side and also UPSC, groups and civils also. Okay, then I understand the situation, and I joined the IT side in data science course, but I don't know anything about that. One IIT friend suggested me, it is the booming now. Just I directly joined. After that, I learn from my experience and mistakes. First I have to learn SQL or Python. Then I have to recollect and learn Python. Then I got the job after 1 year. Okay, then I will join the company, and after 2 months they get the COVID time. Again, world is stop. After 1 year I have to come to Hyderabad. Okay, what my friends are, and I am the only person software engineer in my mechanical branch. Okay, now my friends are studying for AutoCAD and also preparing the group. There is no jobs, sir. Everyone coming to the IT industry. They learn the technology. Okay, everyone calling to me, what is the best institute, what is the demo dates. They are doing such in just deal, but phones are very busy. They are not giving clarity. Okay, the evening time I have to go to the institutes. Okay, that time I have free time. I have to do 2 months of research. Again, I have to do for my friends and my cousins. My own brothers or elder brothers, cousins also searching for institutes. Then I recollect. Okay, daily going to institutes. I have, see the Amirpet or Dilsunagar KP, hundreds of institutes are there. One person, how many institutes are reached one day? A maximum 10 to 20. Then he had again a deck. Which one is the better? I have to give the clear path for the scenario admission process. Suppose the LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram not educational centric, or just they are also not educational centric. There is unique for everything. And institutes are one fault I find in the journey. In Just Dale they take the too much cost. Okay, suppose I have to search with my institute name, the user details given to the other institutes also. That keywords matching, that they are using AML keywords, because I know that how it is work, because I have the experience in ML side. It is not. It is a very bad thing, because the user need to that institute directly type that institute and course name, but he given to all our everyone calling to irritate the users also. My side I have to never send any details to the one institute I have sent. What interested user I have to send the details to institute.
So tell me about your team. How many people are there?
My team is, as of now I have to hire the 2 people freelancers, mobile development, Flutter developer and backend Node.js developer, and I have my network circle, 1 person working from Sweden, and one woman working from USA, and 1 woman and girl from working from Delhi, and 1 person working from Bangalore is the digital marketing guy. I have to pay for 2 freelancers, remaining are given to support us because they are my close network and friends.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
It's a virtual meetup platform, and coincidentally, it has got during the pandemic, and that's why the whole metaverse concept has come out, and we are very lucky to be in this space. Prior to NextMeet, I was in the 3D industry for almost 17 years, and that's how the transition happened from virtual reality to metaverse. That's been my journey.
Hi folks, my name is Arun. I run creative, all the divisions for Electronic Arts, so which is design, production, UX, marketing, etc. So like Anubhav said, I've been with you for the last 16 years. The years I've done a lot of different types of things. At this point, I'm working on a couple of prototypes unannounced, can't necessarily talk about them, but we run a portfolio of games, about $200 million worth of stuff that we run out of Hyderabad. So that's what I manage.
Hi everyone, I'm Kashyap, CEO co-founder of Advocate. Advocate is a cricket-based strategy game. I've been a gamer all my life, been a cricket fan all my life, and we thought, it's about time a cricket fan and a game like FIFA, so that there are a billion people out there, and we want to be right up there the way FIFA is known world over. We want to build India's first world-class game. Chris, how many of you are metaverse entrepreneurs? Awesome. How many of you are metaverse students? Okay, awesome. How many of you are going to apply for the incubator? Sorry, not the incubator, accelerator. Awesome, quite a few hands. Cool. Let's pick the brains of these panelists because some of you are going to
submit your accelerator applications, you can use their answers in the application. So yeah, that's the trick, right? Like we need to pick their brains to make the applications also strong. Cool. So we'll start off with some questions. What's the state of metaverse right now, and what's your definition of metaverse?
I think the real state of metaverse is a lot of confusion, I would say, because right now it's so nascent that everybody has their own definition of what metaverse actually means, right? Depending on whom you are, the definition is going to be different. But my definition of metaverse is a shared virtual space where people can commute together, right, converge together, and engage in a fun activity like the way we are doing right now, right? And instead of just being physically present everywhere, it could be something virtual. That way, in this new age, globalized world, getting to know people, we've all been playing a lot of online games. But imagine just something like that, right? And in a much more fantasized sort of an experience, think of it like a Harry Potter universe, right? Or a Marvel cinematic universe. Right? Imagine something like that, where you are part of the experience along with your friends, and it becomes what you make of it, to be honest.
Right, let me add a couple more tidbits. How many of you guys know about this game called Second Life? Okay. Right, so Second Life is one of the first sandboxes that existed where people were able to communicate with each other, be an avatar in a virtual world, buy stuff. There was a lot of corporate intervention also that happened in the Second Life, but it is what it is, right? So an omnipresent virtual world is built on the tenets of communication, interaction is what I would define as a metaverse. Metaverse right now is a buzzword. It's a meta universe, right? So at the end of the day, that's how these virtual worlds came about. So anything that can omnipresent is the keyword there. So shared spaces, like Kashyap was saying, right? So after you leave that space, somebody else comes in. What you leave behind still stays there. So something that stays on forever in the virtual space or until it is cleared, right? So that's how I would define metaverse.
So I have two formats of explaining metaverse. One-liner is internet in 3D. That's your space. We have been living in a 2D internet so far, and we're shifting to the 3D internet. More immersive, more interactive. You get to participate, you get to own things, you get to transact. So this is one-liner. Coming to the broader explanation of metaverse, I think it's been explained very well by John, a very famous entrepreneur in the metaverse space. He says there are 7 layers of metaverse. So it's a large spectrum we are talking about. It's like talking about internet. We can't just define it in 1 or 2 sentences. But the 7 layers consist of the experience, the hardware, the infrastructure, various other factors. Wish we could have more elaborate on that. But for me, it's about virtual worlds where Arun, Kashyap have already explained that people get to interact, communicate, collaborate, and ultimately you are not just watching something, but you are participating. That's the beauty of metaverse.
So, in the last 6 months of metaverse, what have you seen that got you excited the most?
So I would say that the way, I know I'm coming from gaming, so I'm a little biased to that. But I would say that the way living up with these metaverse and blockchain-based gaming that have been coming up, I think Mecha Fight Club in particular, where you're like fighting with a bunch of machinized folks, and there's a leaderboard and people are like trying to bring up these things and then buying and selling. So that was particularly interesting because if you guys have played Second Life, you kind of wonder that, okay, I'm doing something in real life, now I can do something in virtual life, which is always going to be a little downgraded version of your real life, in the sense that the way how much you're able to perceive how you're in the 3D world is not going to be as realistic as real life itself. Right? It's always going to be a little bit of a downgrade. But what you want from virtual space is to be able to do something that you cannot do in the real life. Like think about flying. right? You can't buy a Superman in real world, but the virtual you can buy that one. It's interesting, right? Like just visiting a place of historical monument in the real world or virtual world is okay, fine, it's good to do. But what if you could visit the moon, right? Now that makes it interesting, right? So there are a couple of these projects which are coming up, which are making you do stuff like this. I mean, sandbox, obviously, and so anything, particularly like sandbox and these games, where you're doing things which you've always wanted to do, but you can't do in real life, right? And I think those sort of projects have been doing really well, and I'm particularly bullish about anything, any project which has content which resonates and not just the technology.
From my perspective, I would expand the 6-month window to maybe like a couple of years. Sure. Asha was saying, metaverse is in a state of perennial confusion. That's what it is, because people tend to create their own definitions of what a metaverse is. Metaverse is supposed to be universal. It is not owned by anybody in purest form. But right now, what we are seeing are incarnations of these, which are held by a certain entity, where you can't share stuff from one world to another world. Example, I am a part of a metaverse that is by Meta, and I can't take that avatar and plonk it seamlessly into another avatar that is, or a virtual world that is created by another company, because there is no interoperability, right? So there needs to be some governance and some policies that need to come up. But if I were to talk about what has excited me, until I met Pushpa here, I did not realize about this company called Next Step. There was another one called Verbella. I'm sure you. It's a French company, and Verbella is a tool that you would use to do the virtual trainings and stuff like that. Okay, and it's a very, very beautiful and an innovative concept that came up maybe 4 to 5 years ago, and the guys have been developing that platform for a very long time. They're all game developers who cleaned off and started this virtual, metaverse, right? So you would go in. There is a beautiful concept of you have auditoriums inside, and you have doors for those auditoriums. Okay, people avatar can walk up to that door, close the door. The moment you close it, anybody outside that door won't be able to hear you. So it's very technologically very advanced as well, right? You can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and we have very effectively used those sort of tools for training in our own network. The other thing that it is not something that is already in place, but something that I'm looking forward to is governance policies around metaverse, because there's amplification of bullying that can happen in this world. Second Life was a very, very clear example of what can go wrong sometimes, right? So I'm looking forward to, people, there are a couple of startups who are right now working on how do we set ground rules and what is possible and what is not. I know it is not as flashy as the answer that Kashyap gave, but I wanted to take it on a different tangent and talk about the restaurants. Thank you, Arun. Yeah, rightly said. Verbella was one of our favorite until we developed Next Week. Now, we would want everyone to experience Next Week. Now, apart from what we have been developing, the kind of experience we had from the clients who were using, one of the things which I primarily focus, like Kashyap said, there's no point replicating your real life and living in the virtual world, right? Just like having a bench and you want to go and sit in the virtual world, you could do it in the real life, but do something which is not possible in your real life. Like you want to enter into the aircraft engines, which is not possible, and understand and study. This is the kind of technology which would allow you to immerse and understand in depth. There are some places where it's very difficult to even go, like an oil rig, or could be a crucial, some kind of mine. So this is the kind of use case which you should be exploring. That's the right use case for metaverse, rather than a beautiful hall and just living in a virtual world. Just go. Should we go with screen?
Sure. So most of your students here, I gather that in the radar friends before. So just a quick
whole, like if you're building a metaverse product category, in what category would you guys build? Is it games, or is it education, or is it travel and tourism? Wow, that's interesting. Any other? Education. Anyone else? Anything else? Real estate. Got it. Okay, so the reason I asked that question was, like, three people here, they are incredible entrepreneurs, operators. They have like tremendous practical knowledge in their heads, building teams over the last 10, 15 years. So maybe if somebody is building a travel metaverse product, how should they think about anatomy of setting up their team? Like, how should they think about making their first 5 hires? How should they think about getting their first customer? Can three of you comment on that?
Just the travel part.
I mean, like one of the 3 categories. They just
So I remember like the travel being the experience part. So there are certain use cases which I have seen from my experiences. It's not just about the destination, but it's also about the journey. You could create something around the journey on how you book, travel, check in, explore places. This is all a part of your holiday. And then the use case about education, remote learning, virtual universities. Now that is a big time business which is coming out because it's connecting the world, just like the remote education. And then we had the real estate. It's a very strong case of sales in the metaverse. It's a very convincing point to make customers come into your flat before buying it. And then your sales representative comes along with you to show you your flat. So this is a very sales-centric use case. Now, ultimately, it's going to all come down to, if you're asking me about how they should start, they have to definitely start building the product by looking at the data, by looking at who are the end paying customers. Because everybody gets excited when they look at metaverse.
How many engineers would somebody have to hire before they approach funding?
Well, it should start with as low as 2 to start with, because that's what you require to build a POC. A POC is the first stepping stone to get to the investor and tell them you're not just talking about a slide, but you have something which you imagine, and then you have a working POC, not just a dummy POC, and also show the data. It cannot be just something which is having some nice, beautiful 3D imagery, but you need to have a data. Tell the investor that based on the research, these are the customers who are going to buy. So a team not more than 4 to start with.
Okay, here's my take. I'll bring in some flavor of gaming into this, right? So travel is a very unique thing that you could do. If you want to experience a place, you could go to that place, or you could experience it in virtual reality, right? So, but the moment you are able to merge virtual reality with imaginary worlds, that is when you have a win, right? So think of let's say the Eiffel Tower, and you have the dragon from the Game of Thrones coming in and sitting on the Eiffel Tower, something, right? So think of Google Maps in a virtual environment where you have a lot of different locations that you could walk to, and you could combine that a little bit. I mean, right now I am thinking out loud, but maybe you could do a lot of aerobics and exercise-based stuff as well. For people like me, that would be super useful, right? So that kind of, I get to see a new part of the world that I haven't seen before, and at the same time, do stuff that that would be intrinsically helpful for me. Because if I just see that and I forget about it, it's like watching a review of a place on YouTube and not going to that place, right? So something needs to be there. And if you're able to merge your virtual world with actual commercial interest, so let's say people want to advertise in that world. Earth 2, I don't know if you guys know what Earth 2 is. It's a online virtual land place where I don't know how many of you have invested. I have, but So that kind of is, you could do something like that where you can bring in interest. Education is a classic field. So for me, I see it's a no-brainer. So if you're able to replicate what happens inside of the classrooms, inside of the disconnected world that we are living in right now, where people are in remote locations, etc., that would be super cool. And Verbella, like I said, was a classic example. Real estate, like Vishwa mentioned, I think there is a very clear use case of being able to visualize what you want to sell and being able to showcase stuff to people even before you start doing stuff. So it's already being used. A lot of them are using it. Back in the day, a friend of mine was running this startup called Raptor. Raptor was one of the first companies in India which was developed around gaming. It was a Bangalore-based startup, and they used to develop virtual reality-based, applications for realtors. Okay, and at that time you had to carry a laptop in your backpack and huge wires coming out. It was a hardware that was specifically created for them. And I'm talking about early 2009, 2010. So way back when. So,
how many of you are familiar with the concept of MVP, minimal viable product? Right? Most of you starting out, you're thinking in this, well, that's how you kind of start. But the challenge with the metaverse is it's an experience, right? So it can't just work, it can't be functional, because most things can be done in a non-metaverse way, but it can be solved non-metaverse way more effectively right now. Because metaverse is a complete experience where minimal viable product may not work, we need a minimal lovable product. Because people must feel that, okay, yeah, this is completely different, right? Until then, they'll be like, okay, why did I do it this way instead of just doing it in some other way, when existing solutions are probably superior, right? So you need to craft, even if the experience is short, maybe it's like a very short sort of a thing, but you need that to be like top things, right? It's like a game. Like nobody wants to play an MVP game. Trust me, that'll be the first game to get uninstalled, right? The standards are already quite high, like that, right? So I would say that you need a fair number of engineers in terms of getting the 3D right, a fair amount of polish. Even if the experience is even just 5 minutes, it needs to be top class where people go, wow, right? And I think that will be important. So whoever is trying to build something and build that solid use case of why something should do this virtually instead of doing it live, right? We've all been through this COVID scenario of virtual meetings, virtual conferences. We know it's a bit of a compromise. Yes, it's convenient, you don't have to travel and things like that. But why are you guys here? Like, rather be here than watch the video on wherever it's shown. And that's going to be hard to do. So you're going to give something that's even better than, a technique, right? More in-depth engagement or something like that. Right? So you got to think of those use cases and see what is the minimal lovable product going to look like to craft that solution.
So just adding to what Kashi was talking about, right? So I just didn't touch on the production aspect of making something like this. I think one of the other hack that you guys can apply when you're doing something like this is being able to create a virtual world without actual interactions happening. Put it in a 3D engine like Unity, Unreal, etc., and render it out at the highest quality possible with the interactions already baked in. So that would become like okay, here's my sales pitch. This is what I'm trying to build. If you're looking for seed fund, probably that is how you would approach it. But that needs to be like real top class, right? And apart from the minimum lovable product that really like that you would create, also think of what are all the extensions. What's the vision for your product, right? You can't just be like, okay, this is what I would like to develop and put it out there. It needs to be like staged properly. Like, look at what is version 1 going to be like, version 2 going to be like, and how are you going to take it? And sometimes you might not have the visuals for it, and you just need a representation saying, okay, this is where it is going to go, right? And this is what we are going to do. Use a hack, use systems that that will allow you to get things done faster. The moment somebody starts to see visuals of what you're trying to do, there will be interest. So.
Cool, guys. I think those are some great tactical inputs. 2 engineers
and then minimum lovable product, and then use Unity, do hyper realistic rendering before approaching your investors. Yeah, like we are almost on the way to get the first check. So, did you guys have any questions? Anyone has any question or any remark? Pricing.
That is a discovery. I mean, we're still discovering pricing because it's perceived pricing. Obviously, when we talk about remote collaboration, first thing comes to mind is Zoom or the free Google Meet. So why is Zoom charging you and why is Google Meet free? And then you have to be in between, free and charge. So it's going to take some more time and the market gets more.
Yeah. Well, I would say it will depend a lot on your market, what you're trying to do with the metaverse. And there's going to be a big challenge that to get people onto the metaverse. So it's unlikely people are going to pay a premium for that in this stage, right? So it'll boil down to what exactly are you providing and why should the user value this? Just like any other thing, but you have to go out of your way to try to use it because you're trying to sell a technology. So a lot of adaptation and a fair amount of hardware and whatever requirements are there. So you have to get past all that value. So you have to be extremely aggressive with your pricing.
Let me throw another connector into. People put metaverse and Web3 in the same sentence. So are you wanting to sell in Web3? Is that what you're thinking of? Just the metaverse, right? So it all comes down. It will come down to what you're trying to sell. At the end of the day, what is your product? What does it do? Right? So that's where you start. And always keep in mind the Big Mac index. Not everybody can pay the same amount of money throughout the world. Right? So you will have to look at purchase power parity. Once you decide that hey, this is my minimum, selling price for this particular region, you will have to adjust accordingly for other regions. Right? So Big Mac index will tell you how much a burger costs in the US versus how much it costs in India. So,
I have a question here. Jay, actually, I'm working on a metaverse. We are working for real estate at that. My question is, how a company is going to choose the tech stack? More towards the tech line question, because we have Unreal, we have Unity, and we have PJs also that we can on the coding side we can build some metaverses. But the differences will be experiences, because I think rightly said by Kashyap here, lovable product. The experience does really matter, right? The first version when the client looks at it, I think that's when you grab his attention and you make it happen with it, obviously. And here there's no payable product here because there has to be complete product which is to experience a company. But the question comes in with the tech stack, how a company, how a early startup is going to choose that. Because we started with Unreal now and we see complications coming in. And I see at some point that Unity can do it. They have to go and hire Unity also, right? And I see some 3JS might work from again. So how to choose that tech stack going in? It's a primary question.
You're asking any specific question?
No, it's like it's an open question the tech stack because this is one of the questions that needs to be.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. In fact, what Kashyap had earlier mentioned was a lovable product for the investor, and there's a difference from what you show to the investor and then eventually building for the customer. Because customer is ultimately going to use it. Investors are not going to use it. Investor needs to understand how this thing works. So Unreal is a beautiful, application. You create, very realistic outputs. But when it comes to your end user, if you want to use it on a mobile phone or a low-end VR headset, you are going to get stuck. If you are using a very high graphic demanding, realistic stuff. So you will have to choose between the softwares to optimize it to ultimately reach the end customer. The device is basically the device.
So based on the customer,
if your customer is real estate and it's going to be his customer, a real estate guy is further asking his customers. You can't expect their customers to have VR headsets. They might come on a tablet or a PC or a laptop. But if you are doing it for a real estate who has a sales center and they provide the VR assets, they might have the graphic resources to make the experience. Then you could choose your pipeline to be Unreal Engine. So it's to understand where the ultimate experience is going to happen, right? So if this guy is doing a sales center, you could do the best graphics. The guy says, my customers are going to watch it on mobile phone. I want the real time stuff. Unity. Again, I don't want to debate with Arul because he's the next one. Technology is a means to an end. You figure out what you want to build. Don't choose the tech stack first. Figure out what you want to build. Like clearly define that this is the sort of fidelity that I want. This is the sort of interaction that I want. These are the sort of specs that I would like so that it can support 20 different devices. Usually, the easiest form is something that you can carry in your hand, whether it is your mobile device, laptop, etc., etc. In the virtual space, it is the Quest, right? So Quest easily can run, because it is based on Android as a base. You can, if you are able to export out of either of the platforms, I have no choice by the way. So sometimes when we are making tech decisions on a product, on a game, right? So we don't look at, hey, we just have to use this tech stack. Tech stack is, it's not a science project, right? So it's something that needs to generate revenue for us, something that will allow us to enter the market with our dreams realized. Something that we would like to see in the world is already done, right? So it kind of, base your decision on that, and also base your decision on people who you currently have. What are they comfortable with in terms of the pipelines? Both of them are very different. Whether it is blueprints that you want to do on Unreal, or whether it is being able to very clearly and very quickly do something in Unity. There's a very vast difference. So base it on the people that you already have. I'm assuming that you don't have the resources of the world to be able to hire again. So please make a decision prudently basis of people that you currently have.
To give you a bit of a dirty answer, in the sense that go with the mindset that one business fundamentally, I believe that to build a metaverse, it's going to take a lot of resources. Right? And here, like Arun would testify, to build a AAA quality game is insane amount of money, insane number of developers, time, everything goes on. And metaverse is going to be something. So at this stage, when you're starting off, you should not even think that at that stage, but just thinking about a small scale demonstration. So go with the mindset that whatever I'm building now, I'm going to scrap it in a few months, for sure. Don't even try to keep it beyond that. Absolutely not. Right? So go with whatever you are absolutely comfortable with, you team are comfortable with, because getting in talent is going to be damn hard in this space. So go with where you are maximum comfortable to be able to deliver something that can be deliverable. Once you cross that first validation or barrier, then after time, just think about it from scratch and then figure out the best possible solution for it.
There's another one. So think of, I always tell this to my teams, right? So I call this 6x6. It's a matrix. So 6 months, 6 people. Okay. If you want a product out, you should be able to demonstrate that minimum lovable product by the end of 6 months, right? Or something's not working. If things are not shaping up by the end of 6 months, something's really not working. You'll have to introspect. Throw it out, right? So I will never take prototype code into production. Something that we are tinkering with will never get into production. So we throw stuff away. So as much as you like it and love it and you built it from scratch and all that, just not worth having the trouble later on.
I followed the other way around. I followed 2 developers 2 months.
Very lazy. We are huge conglomerates.
Budget is the issue. Getting 100 developers are very hard. It's just an extension of the same question here. Because when we talk about metaverse, because I've been in the real estate for the last 4-5 months now, and wherever I reached out to all the CXOs in the market, people are not really happy with the Quest or the VR headsets or whatever. Right?
The Quest or
the VR headsets. In fact, let's talk about the VR headsets. We have 2 versions in mobile, whatever. But people are really not comfortable in the market, and they believe that their audience are not going to love that experience, or not going to at least consider that for a point. And we see that the shortage of hardware here how is that going to affect the XR technologies in the market? Because on the other side of because I see people are promoting metaverse in different concepts. Everyone have their definitions. If you ask me, I believe that it's a shared environment where you should you can be able to talk to the other person through an avatar. That's media communication. AR, VR is just an upgradation of that experience. That's what I believe, right? And medium channel could be your mobile phone or laptop for a while, because it takes a lot of time for us to distribute the hardwares across India so that people will be used for VR. So how do you think this hardware shortage going to affect the whole VR XR?
Hey, I mean, when it started, it was even bulkier. The Oculus, the research gadgets used to come with a lot of cables, and it was very, very complex. Then they came up with this wireless model, which I'm sure everybody agrees that is the most comfortable right now. But still, if certain companies feel that it could start becoming lighter, one thing is it is going to become more expensive. Somebody has to fit in a much smaller size. So there's going to be challenge for sure with the comfort, and the second point, the availability, and so that's a challenge which we're all waiting, the availability part, because like you said, even if the customer takes the product from you, he needs to provide that kind of hardware to the experienced consumers. So another way of looking at it would be, eventually every large organization like the Jio and the Adanis, they are going to come up with a OTT way of looking at and experiencing things. Like, when was the last time you remember buying the internet modem? Nobody remembers. We bought it during our generation because we had to go and buy it. Now the service provider is the same way. The VR headset could become a consumer device, and that's where a lot of gadgets are going to come into the market. If I knew the answer to that question, I probably would be driving the Ferraris. So I am not. So at this point, there is a global shortage for sure. So I've seen the first instances of a virtual reality headset coming from, since 2010 to the GDCs back then. We always used to see virtual reality as the next thing that is coming up in the next 2 years. And even now, it is the next 2 years only with virtual reality headsets. Yeah. There's a lot of the technology is advancing, right? So the headsets that are becoming cheaper, better quality, optics are coming in. So Quest, the new Quest that is coming out later this year, I think is going to be far more advanced than what we already have. But you still have that hardware barrier, right? So until Jio became Jio brought in the internet revolution in India, access to internet itself was a very difficult thing in this region, right? So you will have to depend fair and square on, you'll have to assume, if you're selling to reality industry, you will have to assume that they are going to afford those hardware, and make it for the best possible hardware, because you have the luxury of doing it.
Myself, Surya. I work with. I'm a faculty of design in Boston, and I'm the founder of Physical Design Lab. So the name itself says that it tries to merge the physical and the digital world. So I guess right now most of the virtual world things are not. I mean, the public is not able to adapt to this because most of things are dependent on the visual things. As we know that it has to be much more sensorial experiences. That's where we are focusing. I guess the answer to this person would be like trying to come up with products which are more sensorial, not only focusing on visual, not just focusing on the headsets. There can be better products which are going to provide better experiences in the virtual spaces through the physical products. That's where that's the gap we need to cover. And we are. Yes, haptics is one part, wearables is one part, and might be exoskeletons are one part. So combine these, we have to come with better product which can help public to engage in the virtual worlds in much immersive manner. That's where we are focusing on designing the products.
That's the actual vision of metaverse, to be able to live like you are living in the real world, to feel.
I guess that's the gap we are trying to fill.
If I have a slightly different topic. So the first $10,000 check or the $20,000 check when an entrepreneur or a builder has $0 in their bank account for the project, that matters like way more than the $10,000 check or a $20,000 check when they have $1 million in their bank or when they have $10 million in their bank. How did you guys get your first check for your products? How did you find your first investor? So we had to first get some checks from our customers, I would say, because back when we entered the gaming space, we had to validate and just building a game was no longer enough. Because like a lot of people build games, but the revenue is what people were talking about. And the true validation for a product like ours was if people use it, it's one thing, but others are willing to spend on it, it really doesn't make much sense as a business, right? So that's something that we did concentrate on. We didn't think about investors from the get-go. It was more like how do we get people to spend? And initial users were obviously friends and family and extended friends of friends, and a lot of user interviews to understand what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and then even talking to random people, and these are all standard stuff that every startup goes through. And the moment we started seeing money coming in, that is when we realized, okay, the idea is up until that point, we're just thinking, okay, is this even good? Does it even matter? Is it just fun? Is that good enough? Right? So I think if you just target how we're going to get a customer to spend, to put their wallet for a product like this, somehow in the way you'll end up, even the investors start saying that, okay, yeah, this is something that customers can spend on it in a big time. So I would say that think about how to get the customer to spend. Where will the customer spend? Sometimes it's a very weird sort of scenario. Where can a customer spend in your product, right? And would you, if you were a customer, would you spend on a product? Maybe ask yourself those hard questions and see where that goes.
Well, I've been lucky because I come from the industry of 3D and I've been working with friends for more than 15 years. They easily understand what we had in mind, what we wanted to build, but it's not always easy to convince an investor what to have in mind and what you can actually start selling. So I think the first lesson is to identify who are your paying customers and who are only the exciting those guys who are excited about technology. This happened with us VR in 2015 when we got hold of the Oculus Rift and we went to show it to the customers. They all got excited. Zero conversion. They all bought the hardware. They didn't become our customers. They went to the shop. So it was like I was the salesperson for Oculus Facebook. I demonstrated it to a lot of people and they all bought Oculus. So the challenge with metaverse is this is such a huge topic that you might easily get distracted when you start getting into building something for metaverse. There's going to be a lot of distraction. Fashion industry, retail, real estate, healthcare, manufacturing, education, all these are going to come into your mind, and then the investor is definitely not going to like it because वो बोलेगा ये क्या करेगा एक product. I think after the friends round, the real challenge to convince a seed investor for us was to tell him that we are only focusing on one particular segment. We are creating providing a solution for that particular industry, for a particular problem, instead of talking about 10 problems and 10 issues. So I think identifying that niche core among your favorite market is going to help.
What's a metaverse product you guys would like to personally invest in?
We have invested all the metaverse products out there. That's how we started.
What's your latest investment?
Well, you have to ask me about hardware. Again, the 7 layers of the metaverse. If it's going to be specifically on the hardware, yes, haptics is one of the favorite part. There are certain requirements for having a virtual show of an artist. Like we recently got an inquiry to get Arijit Singh on the virtual platform to perform, and the organizer wanted his real movies to work on. So we kind of collaborated with Exsense Mumbai to help us set up Arijit Singh, even though he's not going to dance, but there's Bacha also who could dance. So yeah, the haptics. I honestly don't have an answer to that question. I am just looking at companies, what are we trying to do at this point. Like I said, in my own personal capacity, I've invested in Web3 and metaverse systems, but nothing that I'm still trying to search for that time.
What's your Web3 investment?
Earth 2 is where I dumped a lot of
Earth 2
NFTs. Any NFTs?
I don't know.
So me too personally, there's so much out there, but nothing's quite been convincing. I mean, we are being a little too cynical because you kind of go a little bit deep when you're trying to do market research, and then you start finding, hey, how is this going to work? How is that going to work? And then suddenly you start feeling this bullish about projects. So I'm kind of stuck in a bit of a limbo. I spend a lot of time on a daily basis trying to look at newer projects and all. But so far, nothing seems. We have got a couple of games here and there that I'm very positive about. But even there, those things are just white paper, saying it's all speculative. They are going to work this way. Will they actually work? We don't know. We're just waiting for that. I hope they work. That'd be a nice precedent. But yeah, I think maybe 6 more months.
In the topic of investor, I must have pitched to nearly 50 angels to individuals to venture capitalists, and I figured out one common overlap is they want to see the focus of which market you are targeting. It could be as small as a country or a region or industry, but they all want to know where is the focus in terms of the industry.
Yes, last 2 questions.
Yeah, come here. So my question is regarding this accelerator. You're not expecting us to be building like another metaverse. You want us to be building something on top of the metaverse which are already out there. So what kind of
side have nothing to do with the accelerator?
Aaron can probably answer this question better.
But I think so. My question is what are the tools which you will be providing as part of the accelerator for anybody who wants to build something on top of the metaverse?
See, it's mostly around a bunch of hardware and as we said, Oculus, a bunch of hardware, and so the whole idea of this program is to help you with the right set of funding and market access. And on top of that, if you need some bunch of tools, these implementation partners, since Meta is very actively involved, we have a bunch of studios who are offering their labs for you to get help from them and help you design that whatever you're building right now. So whatever you need related to that is the overall support ecosystem. There's no defined help. If there is something which is very specific to you, and we think that it is needed, we will try to provide it to you. Any help in that, in and around your startup and whatever product you are building. That is until unless your focus is on the entertainment and gaming side of it. That's where we are in. And now, if you are doing something in the healthcare space, like you are creating a virtual body to operate, put some operations on, or maybe trying some experiments on the body.
So those fall in the healthcare domain. So other implementation partner looks into it. But all of us are together to see the best of the best infrastructure to be provided to you with fund, and at the end you are going to sell it to someone. So that market access. This is the core component of the accelerator program. Okay.
Anubhav, can I just add one point? So my experience working with a couple of folks at Meta is that you might develop a product and ultimately want to take it to a device, let's say Oculus. And there are a lot of compliances you have to meet, a lot of regulations, privacies, a lot of standards they keep. And for somebody who's not worked with Meta, it could take a lot of efforts. So if you are in the ecosystem, they're going to guide you on exactly how to apply, for the Oculus Store. Like you must have, submitted your applications to App Store and Play Store. This Oculus Store again comes with a lot of regulations. So I think Meta helps you there.
You had.
Hello. So I have been working on several projects. I'm also finishing my master's. So a bunch of these projects have been on games or academic projects, exploratory projects, but on AR, VR. And for some last 1 year, I have also been working on retail experience project in a team of 4. But and we were also being able to get decent amount of money on that with clients. But like you said, there's the quality of standard is already pretty high that you need for a minimal lovable product, and then the people who are good at these skills are very rare, and the tech keeps on changing very fast. So how to go beyond your network of your friends, and how to go beyond that to find out talent, where you also are worried about finances and how to pay them.
Yeah, I have the luxury of working in a multinational.
Talent in these particular tools, a lot of proficiency, and it's not just about somebody who knows how to use. You need somebody who's really good to deliver the kind of quality that people have taken for granted. The big problem is that users have taken this for granted. So now, unless you meet that, it's just gonna crash. We've seen a couple of games which have launched with a lot of hoopla. If you actually look at games which are launched with movie actors, sports person, brand ambassador, for the user doesn't even stick to it for half an hour. So it's a big battle, and that's why I would say that it's not a battle that you're going to win on the first pass for sure. So you don't want to try. But the great thing is you don't need too many people to get something done. Right? Even like a couple of 2-3 engineers, you can build something that's nice. Right? For example, you don't need to build this entire building. You just need this particular auditorium that looks cool, that looks exciting, nice amphitheater. Good enough. Right? You don't have to build the entire building. Don't even try building. That's the big mistake that most people would say, okay, grand vision, we want to bring it to today. Don't do it. Rest of the building can be under construction. No way. But this one looks awesome. Very nice setup and good stuff. Just concentrate on that. Don't overthink on just trying to get people, because initial days you want to be spending your time building your problem. Right? Don't rely on other people to come in and solve the problem for you. If that's important, sit down, start learning, and try building it on your own. In between, if you find somebody, whether good, but at any cost, make sure that every day you're moving a step forward by your own knowledge. And I think my suggestion, if you're looking to break out into a new field, find international collaborators. Don't even think about India. I think India has the pay parity issues, a whole bunch of issues. I don't want to get into all this. If you're looking to optimize your pay, find international collaborators. Do establish a polygamous relationship with work with multiple companies, work with, do the moonlighting and all of that. No, we actively encourage moonlighting in our company.
it's good for you. You will upskill yourself. There is that. And third, like when you see a nice project that is not very big, you should, if you have a superpower, let's say your superpower is design, and you could revamp the web page in like 5 minutes, you should in fact go revamp it and mail the founder, hey, your web page was looking like shit, I just revamped it, imagine what I would do if you hire me. Like, just go do it, show your proof of work, and then charge a premium. Like, if you do it for $100, then charge $10,000. So, like, go with that aggressive approach, and the conversion rate would be 1 in 30. So, if you haven't hit on 30 girls, if you haven't hit on 30 CEOs, you won't get a conversion. So, that's the benchmark. Also, same goes with investors. You also told, right? Like, you met 50 investors. So,
you could always approach accelerators as well.
1:30. Yeah, never approach like one accelerator. Again, if you're approaching accelerator, approach 30 accelerators. If you're doing fundraising, approach, like we raised around $10 million recently, and in that round, we talked to 200 investors in a span of 4 weeks. Because like we needed to create that urgency, right? Like it's like we need to create an auction, two-sided auction where there's a lot of like bidders who want to buy our stock. So we had to, and the window has to be short. It can't be like over a span of 1 year we talk to investors. So like at this point in time, for my skill, how do I create an action so that I can extract value? So that would be my approach.
To add to the quality part of what you're building, I think in India, we primarily focus on the coding part, but nobody talks of game art. Work with those kind of people who appreciate art, like Kashyap said. You take a small portion, make it very beautiful. For that, you need to have artists. You can't just work with somebody who knows Unity and Unreal Engine. That's the software. Keep the software aside. Architects, interior designers, artists, get them, work with them. They understand the proportion, they understand the color combination, and you get a beautiful output.
Yes, so done with questions.
So we're open.
So your last question.
I think she had something. You're holding the mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go for it. Any questions from women here?
Watch the movie Ready Player One. So in that, you feel what's happening inside the metaverse. So is it possible that it comes in like 5 to 10 years? Because when you play a shooting game or any kind of a battle game, you want to feel the pressure or feel the injuries, right? So is it possible that it comes in like real?
Already there. You should get the Oculus too. There are games where you can actually
like real game experiences.
Okay, they're all good in an arcade arena. Okay, but these are all experiential things. It can't be a day-to-day thing. Ready Player One is a beautiful movie. While I was walking up to this place, while I was actually walking with Anubhav, one of the things that I was thinking about is, hey, do these guys think about Ready Player One when they're thinking about metaverse? It's a beautiful implementation. What a metaverse could look like. But yeah, I mean, haptics have to evolve, exoskeletons have to evolve. There's a lot of research pieces I think you guys need to speak to each other, try and figure out, what can happen. Maybe there is a startup there, right? So maybe there are a lot of other people like you who would want to feel the jolt of getting hit by a bullet or getting smacked in the face with a football, right? So that'd be cool. And yeah, maybe think something. But there is a lot of research happening there. That is especially for
chances are people will build it and others will buy it, and it's going to become a reality sooner than you think.
I feel it is fun because the prospect of not getting hit is also generating value.
I think it's because it's exciting in itself.
because sometimes when you're actually playing on the field, one of the cool things is like I used to play hockey. One of the cool things was how to avoid the ball.
Just like betting, like unless you have something to lose, there's no fun in gaming. Very deep level topic. We'll talk at another deep talk to this kind of.
Hey, there's a lot of women participation here, so no questions for them.
My question is the other way around. Like we going in virtual reality, how about the other way around, augmented reality? How do you think it would come up? I mean, it would be more realistic, successful, and useful scenario, right? We going into virtual because we as of today we don't know what is really works. But for example, my author can go somewhere and teach somebody or do something, picture myself as myself somewhere else in the technologies and augment my reality. How do you think that would help, or is it part of the same meta way of talking, or how can we can you guide us?
Yeah, it's very much part of the extended reality. It's to understand how VR works and AR works, and ultimately make a wearable which covers both the use cases. There are certain use cases where you need a VR. If I have to teach you how a hospital emergency clinic looks like, oil rig looks like, I have to be immersed in the environment. I would wear a VR headset. But if you are talking about augmenting, is you want a professor to come in front of you, and then you want the real world in front of you. This is the classic case of AR. So both the technologies. There's a lot of I see a world of hope for augmented reality over virtual reality becoming a thing, right? So even if you have a phone right now, open Apple Maps, pick up walking directions, point it in the direction in which you want to go, it will show you where to go, right? So it's augmenting something on the real world that it is grabbing through the camera, right? So or if you're driving a car, it will tell you exactly where you need to turn based on the camera it has on the hood, right? So augmented reality probably would be the easiest way that people can get into metaverse or environment. Right? So there's no reason why a metaverse can't exist in AR. It's the way you build it at the end of the day. So Google Glass, I don't know if you tried it back in the day when it came out. First version was very clunky, and if it becomes a thing, if Apple is rumored to be working on a wearable device, if it is something like this, then you really have a really huge manufacturer who's going behind the AR bandwagon, and it will really create something that is that'll be a very good business platform. So AR for sure is a big one, much more evolved than we have.
In fact, there's a secret project by Facebook. You should search. Okay, on VR. It's available on the secret.
First time I tried augmented reality was you scan a card or with a mobile phone, and then the dinosaur comes live, and you can take a picture and send across your phone, friends. There is a dinosaur in my house, in my backyard, in the big. Okay. So that's kind of really cool, but it did not work commercially. So, but I mean, my question is like, we better augmented reality first, and then we can move to meta, or we try meta reality.
Bet on your idea first. So figure out, is that product viable or not, right? So 2016 we built a similar sort of a coaster. We took physical coasters and we built a mobile app that could pull out a Need for Speed most wanted car from it, or Plants vs zombie from it, right? So we've done all of that, but what is your use case? What is demanding the use of augmented reality in your application? If you're able to sell that, I think that would really define where you should be investing in this AR.
It's called Project Aria.
I used to joke with my friends that when Facebook releases glasses, I go on Facebook stuff, but the killer AR app for the glasses would be, it would tell you
you're a guy who tell you all the girls who looked at you without like you have a certain vision. Now I'm looking at the floor, but I don't know who all looked at. But we have these classes. The class itself will scan the whole damn thing and it will tell you. It will violate all the fucking privacy and it will tell you these are all the people who organize it today. And here is the list. Go poke them on Instagram.
So this is what we are trying to prevent. You remember that conversation? Online bullying and all that?
So it is, in my view, I think it is because of the lack of the social app, the metaverse has been taken off. Because there is no appeal for youth in the metaverse.
No, I think you should have a conversation with.
One more challenge with being avatars in the metaverse. Like often we are asked that, can we get our photorealistic version of ourselves? I'm like, we could do that. There's a technology, but how do I control impersonation? So I could just go and let Ritik Roshan and walk in. So these are going to be certain privacy challenges, impersonation, and that's something I'm sure Meta is also looking at.
Yeah, any questions from the women here?
Meta woman.
Ask something.
Fashion, try on. It's a huge scope for metaverse.
This will be the last question. We'll end it only after the women here ask a question. Nobody is doing otherwise. What women want from it? Well, let them speak.
Anyone? Any question around the program or around even the gaming world? Anything you can ask related to it.
They are wondering why am I sitting here? Not your friends to ask a question.
Do you think about the scope of jewelry metaverse future? So there are a lot of artists inside it. What is your opinion?
Yeah, that's not a typical use case of metaverse. It's just to try on, because try on is augmented reality experience part, but the metaverse part is to be able to get into a virtual showroom with your colleagues and friends and try on and talk about it and then own it. So that's a classic use case of metaverse. Is not just the jewelry, the fashion, accessories, shoes, watches, clothing. There are brands like Prada and Gucci which have entered the metaverse. So yeah, there are going to be a huge market around the fashion.
A lot of jewelry and some fashion also that clothes and some accessories that cannot be in the real world.
Yeah.
That is why that's been tried to be metaverse reality.
Yeah, that's calling owning the digital asset using an NFT, but that's more of a hype right now. Just don't believe whatever is written on the blogs on the internet. It's basically clickbait, newspapers, those $1 million and all that. You're not going to make $1 million by buying a Gucci virtual bag. Go for the real bag.
Arun, right here.
Not at all. I think I would say if you're able to work with a retailer who's got a name, who's got a brand, and convert your digital creations into a NFT, there's a lot of money to be made. Yeah, we are not be pushed back, but there are others who will come.
We are believers of the concept of owning digital assets. Just be careful with the internet.
Right. I've invested in one company called Yard. So the value prop of that company is start buying one, starting 1 rupee, and those guys have scaled to 50,000 transactions on a daily basis in the last 1 year, and the company has grown from a team of 2-3 people to 150 people right now, and they're now valued at $50 million. So companies like that are going to invest in jewelry, like virtual try-ons, because like a lot of people are coming to those sorts of apps for saving digital gold, and that digital gold that they save when they withdraw, they want to withdraw as usual. So those sort of applications are going to come up.
There's a podcast called Freakonomics Radio. I don't know if you know about Freakonomics Radio. So there's a episode about how art is evolving in the digital world and how the effect of NFTs, etc., on the physical art world. Listen to that podcast if you ever have time. It's a very economics radio. It's a very interesting take on how very big art houses across the globe, some of the world famous art houses, are dealing with the situation of people not coming into the museums at all, and how are they planning on they code that the maximum amount of time that the actual artwork or where it actually spends its time is in a warehouse, right? So it's not displayed anywhere; it's in a warehouse, and people are still investing in it. There are ways in which people are doing it. So I'm sure virtual jewelry can be.
Thank you so much.
How many of you have spent on cosmetics inside a game? It's a multi-billion dollar industry. People in India have spent $100 million on puppies. So what is that? It's a bit of a status. Fundamentally, any luxury goods or anything for that matter boils down to that emotion, a little bit of our social status that you wear. Either expressing yourself or you're showing that, yeah, I can own a Gucci bag. Right? These are the kind of things that are very similar to what happens in real life. So if people can spend on cosmetics inside a game, I'm sure they can buy luxury goods also. What you need is people coming to the metaverse. That's why everyone's so bullish on metaverse. Like in real life, there are a lot of people convening inside the virtual space online. There are going to be people wanting to stand up, wanting to show, hey, I have this. And it's very natural. It's human emotion. So nothing can beat that. So it's just getting people inside a place. That is the main challenge. Once that happens, there will be hundreds of layers built on top of this exactly to begin the real.
Thank you so much, everyone. So, on the closing notes, Kashyap and Arun, Abhilash, all of them talked about how you pick up an idea and you keep working on it, you take it up, whether you are an entrepreneur like Arun, who works with EA, or an entrepreneur like these three. It's always, someday somebody, and slowly the recognition happens. I'll personally talk about these two. Abhilash, I recently interacted. I remember Kashyap back in 2015 when I was leading University of Hyderabad's accelerator. We used to organize these talks in 91 Springboard. He used to come with his co-founder. Okay, today that entity which is called Mighty Startup Hub, the CEO himself personally pinged his Kirti around. That's something, that's a recognition. The Kirti is the co-founder of Incubators. You should engage Kirti more with such programs and get. In the same way, when I see the journey of how EA evolved over the years in India. As a gamer, I was always like, today also in my office, in my room, I have PlayStation here itself. So I play a lot of games. So as a gamer, when you see the overall community evolving and there are people coming and reaching out to you, I've been hearing about Samosa Lab every now and then. I got the first time the chance to speak to Abhilash yesterday, and Abhilash was like, you know what, we have heard about this, and then you know what, when you hear that your work is being recognized somewhere, someplace, that's something that will give you more boost. It's not entrepreneurship is not something, a backpack that you pack and then you start doing it. It requires it. I mean, Kashyap can offline tell you what all hurdles, and that too in the gaming space, right, in India. We were discussing the other day how much money it takes to build a game. It's not a SaaS platform. It's much more than building a movie. So that is there. How many students in the house right now? How many students? Okay. How many students wants to work with CI in this program? Anyone? Okay, I'll tell you why. We are looking to hire a bunch of interns. Anyone who is willing to work on this Facebook Accelerator program as an intern, please do reach out to us. We would be more than happy to talk to you, involve you in our program, because all of you are either some or the other way enthusiastic about the XR, overall XR scheme and overall whatever is going on, gamers, all those. So we need such like-minded people. Anyone interested in interning with us, please do reach out to us. We would be more than happy. Thank you so much, Kashyap, Arun, Pushpa, and Abhilash for your time. It was a wonderful session. We have some amazing, I think so, amazing food there. If it's not, please don't come to us. So please do fill your tummies before you leave. And we are here offline if anyone have any questions around startup products and all.
Welcome viewers to another episode of Wantrepreneur Show. We are the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship of the IIITH. As part of the Idea Validation Bootcamp, we are interviewing aspiring entrepreneurs. My next guest is Vijay Ganagam, whose idea is about building a marketplace which connects buyers with manufacturers. Vijay, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I'm really glad. This is the first time I'm sitting in front of camera and I'm tensed, and at the same time I'm also excited.
Great, great. Happy to have hosted you here. So, Vijay, why and how did you come up with this idea of creating a marketplace? I ask this question especially because there are so many platforms now which are claiming to be marketplace, connecting somebody with somebody, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So to answer this and to make it much more personalized, I will ask you a quick question. I see your t-shirt, mystartuptv. I'm sure you would have got in touch with some manufacturer or designer. How many manufacturers have you got in touch with, and how did you do that?
Yeah, it took me a few people to call up, talk to, and not necessarily directly talking to a manufacturer. It could be a middleman or a some agent who's kind of getting it done for us. Yes.
Just give me an approximate number. What is in your head? How many manufacturers do you think who manufacture t-shirt with print in India? How many